everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Nerdy Things Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin, joined as always by Jules. Hey, Jules.
Heyo.
And by Tim. What's going on, Tim?
Not much, Kev. What's going on with you, man?
Not much. I bought PlayerUnknown's Battleground last night because I switched over to Windows, and I figured I'd give that a shot.
Yo.
And, it was neat. It was kind of neat. I played two rounds. I hope to get back to that a little bit
Did you
later.
get a chicken dinner on any of those two?
No.
You didn't win? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. Not at all. I watched the first two episodes of Future Man with Josh Hutcherson last night.
How is it?
Actually pretty neat. Weird as hell.
Pretty
but
weird.
Really cool.
Well, Seth Rogen's in charge. What do you expect?
Yeah, no, it is exactly what I expect. But funny. Like, really kind of funny. You can definitely see a lot of influence from anything else that had time travel in it, because this has time travel in it. And it has, like, scenes where they exactly duplicate things out of Back to the Future and things like that. Kind of weird referential. I don't know. I have no idea where it's going now after the first two episodes. So I'm intrigued.
Nice.
But
you know what I've been watching a whole lot of this week? Stranger Things, because I was behind. Yep.
You know who watched a whole lot of Stranger Things last night?
Oh, God.
Me.
Yeah, same sort of. So if you didn't know already, this week we're going to be talking about Stranger Things 2 or Season 2. People have been just shortening it to 2 because it's definitely more like a movie than a whole season. Just a really long movie. But we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 2 later on in the episode. We're going to get into nerdy news in a little bit, and then we'll go into some talk. We'll probably talk about Season 1 for a little while, so you can stay if you haven't listened or watched Season 2, and then we'll get into our thoughts and stuff on Season 2. But first,
we'll let you know when we break for those two.
Sure. I want to talk to you about our sponsor this week. Thank you to Espressivo Coffee. It's spelled Espressivo Coffee, and they're locally owned here in San Antonio, Texas, where I live. It's a barista, musician-inspired cafe located in Southtown at 317 Pro Band, inside a former residential space. Passionate about coffee and people, they source 100% direct trade, single-origin coffee from Colombia via Cafecinado Coffee Co., and host monthly events showcasing local creatives and musicians alike. Stop in and mention the Nerdy Things Podcast, and you'll receive 20% off your order. I'm probably going to be going a few days out of this week to just go chill, and I'm definitely going to use that. So just go mention the Nerdy Things Podcast, or hey, I heard you on a podcast, preferably the nerdy one, and say that, and they'll give you 20% off your order. How cool is that? And we'll have all the info to find them on Facebook and Instagram in the description of this podcast. You can follow them on Insta, Espressivo Coffee SA, and Facebook with the same name. They're open all week. The times and all that stuff is going to be on their Facebook and Instagram. So thank you to them for supporting the podcast.
Jules, you said last week that you hadn't had Colombian coffee before.
I've not.
And it's interesting to me because first of all, my dad grew up in Colombia, South America.
Uh-huh.
And like when he makes coffee, people always say how great he makes coffee in a coffee maker.
Huh.
Like, I don't even understand how that's a thing. Like, that you can put coffee in a coffee maker and make it better than someone else. But when people visit, they're like, "Oh, Tim, you're making coffee. I'll have some. You make great coffee."
That's great.
And he was around the Colombian coffee beans in Colombia, South America. But also, Colombian coffee used to be a big thing. This might be before your time, but Kevin probably remembers Juan Valdez, the Colombian coffee guy. So it used to be a commercial. It was a whole commercial thing that I think it started in like the 60s. And it was from a Colombian Coffee Association, and it was designed to bring awareness to Colombian specific origin coffee. And it was a Colombian farmer, and he was usually riding a mule, and he'd like ride the mule up to someone's window and be like, "You need to have pure 100% Colombian coffee." And that was like his thing. Like, that's all he would say. So when you were saying that you hadn't had Colombian coffee last week, I'm like, dude, Juan Valdez, like Colombian coffee, like that's where it's at, dude.
Wow.
So
I gotta check
so
that out.
if you guys are in the San Antonio area and you are in the mood to try some good coffee, Colombian coffee is where it's at, man. So you got to go to this place, give them the promo code, get your 20% off, and get some what I would assume is damn good coffee.
Now that I think about it, I think Juan Valdez grew up to drink Dos Equis because he's got
he's the most interesting man.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
I also want to read a iTunes review because we still have a ton of those, and thank you. If you want to leave an
Yeah,
iTunes
give it a
review,
shot.
we definitely love that. This one's from your associate Cornelius. I don't know the reference to that one. A show I genuinely enjoy. It's guys talking about so many things I love, and I love when people talk about things I already love. There are similar shows around, and it's fun to listen to multiple viewpoints on the same cultural happenings. So it's kind of like it was a good compliment, but like it's a little roundabout way of saying, hey, I like what you're doing. You have opinions. I like opinions.
I like your face.
I like opinions on things that I like.
Yeah. So again,
I like my
congrats.
opinions repeated back to me.
Congrats on listening to our show. And again, you can leave us iTunes review and all that stuff. Don't forget, you can reach us on most social media at NerdyThingsPod, NerdyThingsPod. You can send us an email, nerdythingspod@gmail.com. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news updated daily, and links to our merch for t-shirts and more. Links to YouTube to watch the podcast episodes because we record in video as well.
Yep.
Our Patreon for extra content like bloopers and early access to our stuff. And you can text us or leave us a voicemail at 978-78-NERDY, 978-78-63739. And something about the merch before we get into maybe reading the texts that we got. We have some new holiday stuff, holiday merch. It's already out. I think by the time you are listening to this, the sale is over. I'm sorry, but you should have been looking on nerdythingspod.com. But we have a few different holiday designs, some stuff going into Christmas, so that would be a cool way to just a cool stocking stuffer really quick, just to get a t-shirt or a crew neck or a mug with this holiday, one of our holiday themed logos and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. I'm probably going to pick up all four. So go ahead and check it out. Go check out our merch store, nerdythingspod.com. We have some new merch and probably some more coming out
Also,
soon.
speaking of merch, I'm wearing the Nerdy Thing shirt because why would I not with today's episode?
Oh, yeah.
And if you're a fan of this podcast and you're a fan of Stranger Things, why don't you own this shirt? Like, why don't you? It should be on your body or in your drawer or in your closet right now. Speaking of which, 2 people bought shirts. Who are you?
Right? So we
don't find out like who bought our shirts. So I'm calling out right now. I mean, I assume you're a listener unless you just stumbled across it. Like, get at us on the social medias. Yeah. Identify yourself. Send us a picture of you wearing it or a picture of it in your drawer or in your closet, like whatever floats your boat. But we want to know who you are.
Yeah.
And thanks and congrats on listening.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome, we usually see and hear about the person that buys it because they're like, they notify us or we just know the person or something like that. But these people have not told us that they bought stuff, and we want to hear. We want to be like, hey, we can post your pictures of you wearing our stuff. So go ahead and do that. Reach out to us. Anyways, all that stuff's done. Let's get into it. The nerdy news.
Nerdy news.
Nerdy news.
At 6 o'clock.
Beep, bop, boop.
All right. Yeah. So we have a ton of news, an absolute ton of news this week. And I do want to get into most of it if we can. So I want to start off. Rian Johnson tapped to do 3 new Star Wars movies in a trilogy separate from the original continuity. Or at least.
So
not
is it
continuity,
Rian
but
Johnson?
Rian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's separate from the story of the Skywalkers. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be set. Could be Old Republic, could be whatever, but it's definitely going to revive some, lore from Star Wars and make 3 separate movies. So he's going to be in charge of the overall project. He's definitely going to be directing the first of the 3. He may or may not be directing whatever's after that. But I am excited. There is so much in Star Wars to touch on.
Yeah, so we know that it's not going to be from the original trilogy or the Skywalkers in general, but do we know like a time frame? Because it just says it's going to be a place of the universe that Star Wars hasn't really touched. Do we know like a time frame when this is going to happen?
No, this is the thing. Everybody's reading into this. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's gonna be Old Republic. Oh, it's gonna be set 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's gonna be set 40 years in the future." No, we don't know anything about it.
It's going to be yesterday.
Yeah. But Star Wars originally took place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So that's actually really their future. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so there's that. And at the same press conference, they revealed that they're going to be doing a live-action Star Wars TV show. So they're really ramping up Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And
Why not?
No, exactly. There's no reason not to. This one is going to be available only through the Disney streaming service, which means I'm going to get the Disney streaming service despite my protests before this.
Despite past Kevin.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna...
You know what? I am only responsible for what I say now. I am not responsible for anything I may have said in the past or anything I will say in the future.
Episode 40, we're changing stuff.
Speaking of the Disney streaming service,
yes.
I read an article earlier this week, and who was it? Bob Iger? Is he still with Disney? If he's still with Disney, he was the guy that was talking. But he was saying that the streaming service was not meant to be a Netflix competitor, first of all.
Yep.
He said, second of all, it's just a space that we need to be in, and that their pricing structure will indicate that they are not competing with Netflix. It's going to be, as you put it, considerably less than the other streaming services. So this could be like a $5 a month proposition, which I might take back a lot of the things that I said about Disney if that's what they do.
Right.
That's what they're saying right now before it's out. I'm sure.
No,
once,
I agree.
Once they see what's going down.
But that's the way it should be. I mean, honestly, these separate stations don't need $10 a month fees for just streaming the one show on it that people want.
Especially Disney. They don't need that. Yeah.
$5 a month, cool. Fine. I can justify $5 a month. I spend more than that on stupid culottes every other day, so we're good.
Oh, I had dunks. I had dunks the other day, and I thought of y'all guys because I don't normally get dunks, and I was like, oh, but yeah, that's cool. I mean, sure, give me a. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing right, and they're kind of capitalizing on that. That's why they haven't put out a ton of Star Wars games, because they know it's not that great anymore, or they're not doing a good job on that front. But as far as movies and live action stuff, they know people are going to be okay with that and watching that stuff. So I'm glad that they're capitalizing on their strengths and kind of going down that road with Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I agree. And apparently they came out and officially said that they are not going to be pulling all of their Marvel shows from Netflix. That's great. I mean, honestly, leave it where it is. They're putting things on Netflix. They're putting things on Hulu. They should be spreading out so that they get as many people as possible, and then have their own streaming service to kind of bring it all together.
Yeah,
Fine.
so when Disney buys them all, it'll still be there. And let's
it's very
call
possible.
it episode 40. When do you think Disney is going to acquire Netflix? Like what year do you think?
See, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're trying to.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Now, Fox, on the other hand, I give it 3 months. I think Disney is going to acquire
for sure.
parts of Fox in the near future. We're going to see, because I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because whenever Disney acquires something, they basically just halt production on everything and start it over with their vision. So hopefully we get Deadpool 2 completed before that, although I doubt they'd really scrap it at this point. But
well, I imagine Deadpool 2 is pretty much in the can already, right?
I would hope so.
I mean, isn't that like a March release or something?
That wouldn't stop Disney. They've done much worse than that in the past to properties,
I guess
honestly. But no, I really do hope that they do acquire it. I don't hope that they get an immediate, like, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers crossover going, because that I don't care about. I'd love to see some characters crossover. I just want the freedom to have whatever they want, but we don't need a reboot of the X-Men. We don't need any of that to just suddenly pop into being. So, they'd be the ones to do it, but I just don't need it in my life, So
guys, let me ask you this, because I haven't really given this a lot of thought yet. I don't know if you have looked into it, but so we think Fox, we're in the nerdy world. We're thinking obviously about Marvel because it's everywhere right now. So we're thinking about X-Men. We're thinking Deadpool. What other properties does Fox own that Disney could kill, crush, or not? Like what else are we putting in jeopardy?
Well, it's all of the TV shows like Legion and The Gifted and things like that. Anything tangentially related to the X-Men, Fox owns the video rights too, but Marvel owns the comic book rights too. So it's things like that would get crushed, because The Gifted's a pretty good show. Like, it has nothing to do with
But I'm
the
thinking
X-Men.
like other movie franchises. I mean, 21st Century Fox has been making movies for decades, and I'm trying to think like what else is under that umbrella.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm
Like
checking
not
it out
even
right
in
now.
our sphere, not even in our kind of like little specific nerdy world, but what else do they have? I'm trying to think of what else
You're
they
talking
put
about
out
just
that
Fox,
might.
Fox in
Yeah,
general.
just in general.
Yeah, like is that
Yeah.
what they're buying?
Some, yeah, it is.
FXX, whatever the FX stuff.
Oh,
all
well,
of that.
see, that's huge right there, because FX, let's look at what Disney does when they buy stuff. Disney bought ESPN. Well, they bought ABC, who had ESPN, I think. And when I was a kid, ESPN was the stuff. Like, it was on,
Yeah.
if you were a guy who was into sports, I don't care if you were a teenager or if you were 30-something, it was on in the background all the time. And now ESPN kind of sucks. Like, they have killed ESPN.
Well, they're
And
going to
mostly
get Fox
because they've
Sports
watered,
as well.
that's the thing. They can't get Fox Sports, can they?
It's owned by.
No,
Like
they
they,
would- they
no,
wouldn't
the
be taking
broadcasting
broadcast.
arm they won't get,
That's-
right?
okay,
We
that's
talked
exactly
about that.
right.
Yeah.
That's different.
So like Fox News and Fox Sports 1 would be safe. But
Avatar.
you know, they killed ESPN. So I'm thinking other things like that they'll water down, they'll Disneyfy, and that won't be as good. And I don't have anything off the top of my head. I wasn't sure if you guys had looked into this at all, but
Avatar.
you know, there's potential other movie. Yeah, there you go,
what
Avatar.
they
There's
want.
other movie franchises they might kill.
Yeah, they want Avatar, and they don't want to kill it. They want to make it more Disney. They want to make it better because they're investing in Avatar World in
Oh.
Disney. So
yeah.
it's some of that. It's Fox still owns something of the distribution rights for the original Star Wars trilogy or something like that. Disney wants the money back for that. I think Planet of the Apes, or no, maybe not. But there are a couple of other things that they definitely want from this. So I don't know. Would be interesting. We'll have to see what happens.
Well,
with
just
that.
just FX alone as a TV station is kind of known as being an edgy TV station, producing more
That'd be kinda
edgy
weird.
television shows like Sons of Anarchy. Can you imagine if Disney owned FX? Would they have put out Sons of Anarchy?
Right.
I'm remembering that, right? That
And
was an FX show.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Right.
stuff like that. Like, that's not in the Disney brand. And typically when they've gone to stations or they've bought, like when they bought ABC, it became very Disney brand. And that would be a shame if we lost some of the creative stuff that a station like FX puts out because Disney wants to Disneyfy it.
Well, yeah.
So it's kind of scary to some degree.
Well, speaking of all this, did you guys watch the new Deadpool 2 teaser trailer that just came out?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It came out like an hour
yeah.
ago or something. But
Yeah.
it shows him with a number of hilarious colors that are a little off the wall.
Yeah, he's definitely channeling his inner Bob Ross there. Love that guy. Both
Yeah,
of
and then
them,
it just
Bob
kind of
Ross and
shows some.
Deadpool.
Yeah, for sure. And it just shows
it's-
some clips of just really quickly of Deadpool 2 or some scenes and just kind of fast paced. And there's just like, hey, thanks and have a good Thanksgiving, I guess, from Deadpool. Yeah.
And it's very Ryan Reynolds because he's like, all right, we got to clean off the brush. Let me beat this off a little bit. Let me beat it off. Okay. Real quick.
Yeah.
Hold on. And then, got to beat this one off again. And just
I'm
stuff
almost
like,
certain.
It's just very Ryan
Yeah,
Reynolds.
I'm almost certain they just put the paint and the easel in his hand, and they were just like, "Go for it! Just this is what we need.
Yeah.
Do something." And that's the feeling I get every time I see Deadpool do something. It's just like Ryan Reynolds just having a blast, and I really enjoy that. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Facebook right now.
It's a cool little teaser. I am looking forward to that movie because Ryan Reynolds is hilarious when they let him be Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So I'm in.
Hey, Kevin, I'm looking it up right now. It looks like Fox distributed the crappy Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, the prequels.
Yeah, I'm going through all their movies. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Oh, yeah.
But they did all of those.
Big catalog. No, but that's the thing. They
so-
have the distribution rights to a lot of the older Star Wars stuff. So I think Disney just
Right.
wants to consolidate everything they have. You know.
Well, good thing that Disney's going to acquire Big Mama's house because
Oof.
that's right up there.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Animated Big
Well,
Mama's
you know what?
house.
I do wish that Sony would play ball and just sell Spider-Man back because we're getting a Morbius the Living Vampire spin-off movie in the Spider-Man universe.
They're just reaching.
to go along with Venom, which I'm excited for Venom, but we're getting that Black Cat, Silver Sable movie. We're getting, I'm sure, like 38 others. I don't care about a vampire movie. I don't care that it's set in Spider-Man's universe. You're not using Spider-Man in this movie.
No.
Please stop.
And even though it's not with Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get burnt out on Spider-Man. I mean, there's already been so many of his villains out there, and remakes of him, and it's just like, yeah, he's like the guy. He's like super amazing as a superhero, but
he's spectacular. He's
almost spectacular. You can say he's spectacular.
I mean, there's a million different adjectives they've used in the titles of his comics.
Amazing.
So you're right. Yeah.
Amazing, spectacular, wonderful,
web of
stupendous Spider-Man.
Peter Parker. No, you know what? I got lost. I'm sorry.
Bam. Flip.
But yeah, there is a saturation point where there's just too much of this stuff in all of it. And, I think I reached that during like hour 20 of the Lord of the Rings universe that we had. Because there was like 12 hours with the first 3 movies, and then you had The Hobbit, and now we're getting the streaming deal with Amazon that is official now. We talked about it before, but Amazon has officially declared that they're doing a multi-season series in the Lord of the Rings universe, telling the story of, oh my God, who gives a shit?
Well, they haven't released part 7 of The Hobbit yet, right?
That's still
The
to come.
Hobbit is done. All of it.
From that one book? Part 7. I thought part 7 was coming out in February.
Yeah,
no?
They just did the 5 armies, so then they go to the 6th and then the 7th. Yeah,
the seventh day of Christmas.
Yeah, the 7th
exactly
day.
Right.
That's when
Dude, it's really difficult for me personally to get started in a franchise or something and not finish.
Oh my God, I know.
That's not something that I
gotta
do.
let it
Even
go.
TV shows. Like, I get into a TV show usually, like, unless it's Walking Dead and they just really piss me off.
yeah. We're done.
If the TV show turns out to not be great, I still kind of want to see where the characters go. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
So the fact that I didn't finish watching the Hobbit movies really tells you something about how horrific they were and what a disgusting money grab that whole plan was to release 3 of them or 4 of them or whatever it was.
Yeah,
it was nightmarish.
It's 3 of them, and it was just like you said, just a huge grab for money. And I'm actually really excited for this, and I really hope that they do stuff with more of his lore and more of, because there's a lot of material out there other than the one fucking Hobbit book that they made 3 movies out of. But there's so much going on in the whole world. He created an entire language for these people. That he created
because he
tons
was
of
a
stuff.
medievalist. That's how he thinks.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what they can do. And Amazon, I trust them. So hopefully this is better. I didn't bother with the Hobbit series. So if you're a fan of the original movies and a fan of the books, I'm pretty sure you're excited out there. But I'm hopeful, I think.
The original 3 movies, the Lord of the Rings movies, were absolutely fantastic films.
They were.
Great actors, well written. I mean, the production value was everything you'd hoped it would be to honor the tremendous world that Tolkien created. And there is a ton of stuff there. I mean, it's like what J.K. Rowling has done and is doing with Harry Potter. She's just created this diverse world with all of this rich backstory. And I'll watch Harry Potter movies as long as they keep making them well, which so far they take care with them. Yeah. I'll keep watching them till the end of time if she wants to continue to create these stories. Yeah. So if they could do something similar with the lore around The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings books that Tolkien created, I'm fine with that. It's just after The Hobbit, I have a real bad taste in my mouth, and it's going to take a lot for them to win me into actually checking this out and giving it a fair shot, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, my first date with my wife was going to see The Two Towers.
Nice. Aww.
That was, I saw it at least twice in the theaters. But it was sweet. It was a nice movie. It was a good date, and I married her. But they were epic. They had a lot going to them, and I don't feel like The Hobbit really captured that. I felt like they dragged that out. And I'm afraid this is going to be even more dragged out because it's a multi-season, plenty more time to really just get into the nitty-gritty and bore you to death. Especially with Amazon coming out and denying the fact that they're doing a free version of Prime streaming, where they would be introducing commercials into it to help pay for it. If they did that, that would just make things even longer because then we'd be sitting through commercials for it all too.
Yeah.
But if you have Prime, you won't have the commercials,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, but it would be
Then
for
that's-
people
then
who
what do
don't
I
have
care?
Prime. I don't care. But I
Those people exist.
Some
I
people can.
guess.
Yeah.
But I
They're
actually
out there?
think that would be kind of a neat thing for Amazon to actually do. And I do hope they do it because that would bring even more people into the streaming fold. Hey, look, it's TV you don't have to pay for. It's commercials. You don't have to pay for cable. You just get internet and you go. And when people get used to that, then they're like, oh, for $100 a year, $99 a year, I can not do that. You know, I can watch without commercials. I can watch as much as I want. That would be cool. It's a little stepping stone for, like, you know, my parents and things like that.
And I can get the toilet paper delivered 2 days
Right.
if I'm out of toilet paper.
What?
That's so weird. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, on our website, nerdythingspod.com, there is an Amazon affiliate link. Doesn't cost you anything. Does help us. Give it a click. Check it out.
So basically, you click it. If you're going to buy something from Amazon at all, you click it. It takes you directly to the Amazon site. And whatever you buy on there, whatever you buy during that web page, that whole process, we get a little bit of it. And it's totally free to you. There's nothing changes at all. So just go ahead and do that. If you're going to buy something, go to nerdythingspod.com first. And
You do have to add it to your cart after you click the link. It can't be something that's already in your cart and you click on the link just because you think you're being good to us. Thank you, though. Thank you. You know, speaking of Amazon and Amazons, apparently a couple of pictures from Justice League have been going around, and people are all up in arms about the Amazons from the movie being scantily clad. Tim, you and I talked about this a little yesterday.
So I didn't hear that conversation. So basically, they're we'll hear about that. But
Yeah.
they're basically what it is just a picture of the Amazons in some situation, because we don't know the situation of them
Right.
being, and they show two different pictures. One from the Wonder Woman movie where they have their armor and they look like badasses and all that, and the next one is from this new Justice League whatever moment, and they still look like badasses with a lot less clothing, a lot less armor, showing abs and a bunch of stuff. So I mean, this I read an article, and it could be from anywhere really, or it could be from not on set, or it is on set, but it could be from when just before they acted, just after they took off their armor. It could be a whole lot of stuff, but
Could be anything.
Yeah.
But we'll find out Friday or whenever we see it. I don't know. I have a feeling this is not going to be a good showing for DC, especially with the climate of everybody being accused of sexual harassment and all this sensitivity. I just think people need to be aware of that, and I don't think that they are, and I can't wait to see which way this goes. Either you're right and it's nothing, which could be. That absolutely could be the case. Or
Unlikely.
yeah, or, and I think it's more like, although I did read in one of the articles that this is only a couple of the women are dressed like that, and the rest of them are more consistent with what it was. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm, you know what? Let's find out before we rush to judgment. But I'm really hoping for a best case scenario, and I'm willing to yell at them for a worst case scenario.
But what they're wearing in the image looks like battle armor,
Yep.
just missing from their midriff area.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Yeah.
So
doesn't
it
protect
looks like
anyone.
it's probably from the movie. And if it is, why would you ever have battle armor that didn't cover the midriff area? First of all, just from a logistics standpoint, that's ridiculous. But how much more tone deaf can you be?
Yep.
First of all, you got bad press because you had Patty Jenkins that created this great movie and created the visual style of it, and then you didn't want to rehire her or didn't want to pay her. And then you have Gal Gadot saying she won't come back if they don't get rid of the other guy who's been a sexual harasser. Can't think of his name. And they still haven't commented on that. But not to mention the fact that Ben Affleck is in this movie, and Ben Affleck is right in the middle of the Weinstein thing because he's done a ton of Weinstein movies. His brother has been proven to be accused of stuff, and he's on the borderline. Like, he's done some things in interviews that seem inappropriate, although the
apologized
women
and all
say that they were playing along. I've seen one of them. I'm kind of fine with that. I'm not vilifying Affleck at this point, but he's right in the middle of all that, and he's in your damn movie. So even if Zack Snyder's vision was his sexified version of everything, which he always does, you could add the armor in post.
Yep.
I mean, just do it. Photoshop the armor on the abs if it's not there. Make it happen, because you're going to come off looking like a bunch of assholes if this is the case. And I really hope it's not, but it kind of seems like it is. And if it is, they're just going to come off looking like a bunch of misogynistic jerks. And they're tone deaf to everything, which would be totally in character with DC. So there's my pre-rant of something that hasn't happened yet.
You could just they could just Photoshop Henry Cavill's mustache onto their abdomens. Problem
Right.
solved.
Speaking of Henry Cavill, this is another thing Justice League related. Frickin' headlines on the internet. Okay.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, because it's really not a spoiler for our community. We all know Spider-Man's going to be.
Spider-Man's going to be.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Spider-Man's in this movie. You heard it
Sony
first
hit
in the Nerdy Things
They finally
podcast.
hit the wrong crossover.
Superman. It's those S's. Sinister. They must be bad guys.
There you go.
Superman is going to be in this movie. Like, those of us in the know, we get that, okay? But I'm on Yahoo.com yesterday, and Yahoo.com is for the masses.
Wait, why
okay? It's
were
not
you on
for the
Yahoo.com?
He loves
Oh.
Yahoo.com.
Because
Okay.
that's how I get my.
Just don't.
It's not
No,
blocked
just
at work,
all right,
and it's how I get my pop culture news
Okay.
that I don't care about. I like to be up to date on the things that people care about
tweet
that
us,
I think are stupid.
tweet us if you're still on Yahoo.com. I want to know. Nerdy Things Pod. Okay, go.
I just go to it.
I'm- okay.
I go to the front
I'm not
page. I
saying
look at the
anything. I
news.
just want to
get
know
a little bit of
people's-
surface level business, a little bit of surface level pop culture.
I
find out
appreciate
about the
you
housewives
single-handedly
of,
keeping Yahoo going.
Missouri.
We'll introduce him to Google
Yeah.
News later, but that's okay. Go on, Tim.
I find out the housewives of Missouri and what they're up to, if that's a thing.
I want to know about Spider-Man. Okay, go.
But yeah, so the headline was on Yahoo.com, which is for the masses, which is the pandering website. This is how Superman returns in Justice League. What? That movie doesn't come out till Thursday night. I know Superman's in that movie, but I guarantee you that 65 to 70% of the people on your stupid website that are going there don't know. And you ruined it for them in the headline.
Yep.
It couldn't have been, there's a surprise in Justice League. It might be Superman related. Click here. No, this is how Superman returns in this movie. That is irresponsible, and that stuff's all over the place. Don't ruin the stuff for the people who don't want the stuff ruined.
Oh, it's almost
Yeah, I'm not
like
looking at just Yahoo.com. I'm looking at everybody out there.
it's almost like you shouldn't go to Yahoo.com.
Yeah. There you
Shut
go.
up, Kevin.
It's a race to get out your stuff. You want people to click it. I mean, of course.
It's all
and they
clickbait.
they just went all in on
There's
that.
better clickbait headlines than that. You know, you could have been like, click here for the thing you never thought would happen in Justice League, because people click on that stuff apparently because that's everywhere too. But to just put the spoiler in the damn headline
Yeah.
like days before the movie comes out, come on.
Yep.
So pissed about that.
No, I know.
I mean, I am pretty
you know what?
curious.
Plus, I really thought he was dead,
Here, Tim.
so ruined it
Let me
for
throw you a bone. Did you hear they're making a Harry Potter themed Pokemon Go style game?
Yes.
How exciting is that?
Oh man,
Dude.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
so good.
That is going to be pretty.
Dude. And my iPhone 10 will be here by then, presumably.
Hopefully.
And it's got the augmented reality machine in there,
Oh,
and it's
boy.
just going to be so great. I'm going to be out there doing wizarding with all
Wizard
kinds of
stuff.
strangers. It's going to be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, he's going to go into parks at night and pull out his wand. That's,
Oh man,
that's
Yo.
completely unrelated
Bits
to
and
the
bobs
game,
for
though.
all of your wizardry.
but yeah, Niantic, the people that made Pokemon Go, right? I think they're called
Yeah.
Niantic, but
Yeah.
they're making the
Yep.
Harry Potter amazingness game with wands and AR and awesomeness, and I'm super excited.
Dude, I'm getting like goosebumps. My hairs are standing up on my arms, and I'm going to get it to go out and do wizardry with people. This is so fantastic.
Awesome.
I mean, I remember when I would go out, like you're saying, at night to go catch Pokemon, and there's just people everywhere at these stops, and
yeah.
I can just imagine just everybody running around in robes with their wand or whatever. So that's gonna be super cool. I'm super excited.
Kevin, if we get, like, I don't know what they're going to call it in Pokemon, it was a gym.
Yeah.
If there's, like, a wizarding arena at
A
Jordan's this time.
dueling arena.
Yeah, I don't know, a dueling room, whatever. I'm going to get fired.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I may as well just quit.
No doubt.
And go work at the ice cream store or something, because how could I possibly work when all the wizards will be around
No.
fighting each
No,
other?
you'll be wearing a hat while on the clock. Big pointy wizard hat. Oh man.
Trying to
Yeah, I
sort
can
kids
totally
into
see that.
houses. Yeah.
They're gonna have to make cloaks not part of the dress code specifically to keep me from
Just at
doing
the
that.
end in all caps, no cloaks.
Yeah,
Looking at you, Tim.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, that should be exciting. Hasbro is reportedly trying to buy Mattel because they want more toys, and I'm sure that means
Sure.
we're going to get a Transformers Hungry Hippos crossover.
Yo, so
That should be fun.
unrelated, I was on Hasbro's website like last week for the first time I've been on there because I was looking up old school games like Ants in Your Pants and all that stuff because I was curious about it, and this is pretty random, but their website is kind of shitty. Like, it's really bad. Like, come on, guys. I know you sell old school games and you have, board games and stuff, but you can up that up. You got something in you for people to direct traffic there and leave reviews and stuff like that. They have maybe 2 reviews, which is the highest number of reviews I saw on one game. And I think that was like on Sorry or something. But like, come on. Like, why don't you up? Well, you can take that away from Amazon or something. You can do better with your website. You can buy board games and stuff, all the monopolies you want, anything you want, but just be better. Just be better.
No.
Anyways, they're buying Mattel. That's cool.
Yeah,
Just
that
keep making toys.
Honestly, that's fine. I'm calling Monopoly on that. Not the game, but the actual Monopoly.
Barbie Monopoly.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty much.
Barbieopoly.
I also want to mention a couple of video game things. That we had
yeah.
The announcement of the Super Mario Brothers movie. They're doing apparently an animated
Very
movie of
first
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario movie.
Yeah, so that should be very first.
Not
There's been
the
not
very
no, there hasn't
first.
been another one ever. Really?
Not true.
No.
Very
Why? What else?
first
The other one-
ever.
No.
The other one was fantastic.
The
No,
only
It came out about the same time as Hook.
Pretty
it also had
sure.
Bob Hoskins.
No,
R.I.P.
Pretty sure.
It had John Leguizamo,
Johnny
who's
Legs,
friggin'
Bobby
fantastic.
Haas, I know.
It had Dennis Hopper.
I know.
I mean, that movie is award winning. It's awesome.
Is it though?
Is it?
Oh God. Well, I think Tim and William are the only 2 that really like that movie. But there's gonna be a new one, Super Mario Brothers animated feature film, super cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not sure how I feel about this because there isn't a definitive backstory for Mario. Like,
right.
He
it
was
changes
a
every
plumber.
damn game, but it changes every game.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just he was a plumber, and that's fine. But before that, he wasn't, and now he was just Jumpman, and now he's a guy that has a giant lizard.
Well,
that
he was a
keeps-
carpenter first.
Keeps kidnapping his girlfriend, and then they play tennis, and then they go karting, and I don't know, man. I don't think we need a movie. I think we need games instead.
Wouldn't it be cool if that was the movie, though? Like, if it was Mario and all of his friends in the Mushroom Kingdom, like go-karting and playing tennis and stuff.
Oh, that'd be
like
cool.
like reality
Just hanging
TV.
out? Oh,
like,
that'd
wouldn't
be
that be
cool,
neat?
yeah.
If it was just a whole reality TV thing based on Mario with like The Office, little interviews, vignettes on the
Yeah,
side,
breaking the
like
fourth
reactions
wall.
to what's going
In the
on.
background
Yeah.
of every scene, there's a toilet overflowing or a sink that needs to be plunged, and he's just like, nope,
And he's all pissed about it.
Yeah,
not doing it.
I'm better than that now.
Luigi,
It's
this one's on you.
it's not a me, Mario, and then he leaves.
And then just looks at the camera. Just looks at it. Some more gaming stuff here. Something that DC is doing right, and I've had a lot of playtime on this one, Injustice and Injustice 2. These games are fantastic. They're just, fighter games with DC characters and all that, but it is super polished. It plays fantastic, and these games are beautiful to watch even. So we had this week a trailer for their Fighter Pack 3, because with all these games you can they do DLCs, add characters later on, and the Atom was first to be shown, Enchantress, and that's cool, whatever. And out of nowhere, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What?
So they're going to be in Injustice 2. I mean, this isn't the first time that fighting games do take amazing characters from out of their whole thing to be put into games. I mean, we had Freddy and Jason and all that, and like I think the Mortal Kombat games. So they're fighting games are pretty cool. They had Alien, I think, in Mortal Kombat, or Injustice or something. There was Alien out there in one of the games, but
even Nintendo's been doing that in the most recent Smash Brothers games. They've been taking players that are outside of their Mario franchises and putting them in there. So that's something they've been doing as well.
So it's something super cool that everybody just kind of it's kind of okay with, and they want to see these mashups of things. And the Ninja Turtles are going to be in it, and they have voices and they have the voice actors, I think, and it sounds pretty cool and it looks really good. So I'm super excited for that.
What got me excited was when they came out. I'm always interested when Ninja Turtles are introduced into something new, which version of the Ninja Turtles are going to be represented. And these ones looked like the ones from the live action films when I was a kid.
Yeah,
love those.
That was a neat
right?
thing.
They looked like the 1980s Turtles, and I was like, dude, that's the best version of all of the Turtles.
Oh yeah,
good choice.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It was very cool. Like even Raph with the trench coat, looked just like out of TMNT, the original. So that was pretty cool. And when we did the video game episode a while back, guys, we were talking about fighting games. I think we were talking about Street Fighter or something, and I was trying to think of another fighting game that incorporated all of these different characters. I couldn't remember what universe. This was the one I was thinking of. We couldn't come up with that, but it was Injustice was the one I was trying to come up with. I couldn't remember whether it was comic book characters. So once I saw this, it just called me back to that episode. So you guys should go listen to that if you haven't. Go back and check out our video game preview. But that was the one I was trying to think of, was Injustice.
Now, Jules, how much do these DLCs cost for Injustice?
I'm not sure about the Injustice in as far as their packs are, but they can go depending on how many characters from $5 to $20, $5 to $30. I'm assuming this one might be, I don't know, $10 because it's a pretty good. It's just some more characters, maybe some new skins. I don't know if they're gonna add any skins or anything like that. They haven't said, but see if you can find anything on that. But it's available the December 12th.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I hate when you buy a game and then there's all this DLC that's like $10, $20, like that. I stopped playing Call of Duty because it was a $60 game, and then if you bought all of the map packs for it, by the time you were done, you've spent like $140 over the course of 1 year, and then at the end, they just, here you go, here's a brand new game, $60 please, and then that's it. You know what? Don't. So
what I'm reading here is that Adam comes out on December 12th as a early access, but Fighter Pack 3 will come with the Ultimate Edition of the video game Injustice 2. So you can pay a little bit more and then get the Ultimate Edition, I guess, that's going to come out, and you'll get these fighters. And
I'm sure each of these fighters have different moves. They're all different strengths.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all, like, you can't just say, well, they are just a reskin, but it's this powerful, blah, blah, blah. I can play as this and not have to buy that, right? So they're all different moves.
Yeah, so that's what Injustice does really well, and I really like it because they have all the amazing characters from DC and all that stuff, but they are definitely mapped completely different, and I'm really curious to see how each of the Teenage Mutant Turtles play, like how different they play from each other, and how different they play from like a superhero or anything like that. So that's going to be super cool.
Yeah, because it just seems to me like to balance a game like that has to be a challenge in and of itself. So I mean, from that aspect, I get it. They need money, they need manpower, they can charge for it. But it also means that if there's one that's more powerful than the other, if you buy that, you're going to beat other people more consistently, which almost sounds like something EA would do.
Oh God, what is EA doing right now?
Have you heard anything about the EA thing, Jules?
A little bit, yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 coming out, it has been revealed that you can buy the loot packs in the game that will unlock weapons and other things. And if you want to play the game at any sort of competitive level, you have to have those. Now, you can play through the game to unlock these, but it'll take something like 43 years to do. Whereas if you buy it, you know, there was one guy that spent like $90 and opened up everything he needed to just sweep the floor with everybody else. And So there was a little bit of backlash with EA because it's gambling and you shouldn't just have to pay to play a game like that repeatedly, especially where the prices are so high. They're not looking for like you and I to sit down and go, oh, I could really use a slightly better gun, and you spend $2 and you get a better gun. They're looking for people to drop thousands of dollars on this and just keep getting these loot things in order to hopefully get that one thing that they need.
Yeah, I think somebody even did like a patent on the way that they do loot boxes or something like that. I forgot who it was recently, but the whole loot and gambling with real money has been a hot topic for the past couple of weeks, and this is just not the right way.
Looking into like whether this was actually gambling and whether they should regulate it. I think over in the European Union, it is classified as gambling.
Wow.
But because it is, you're paying money for an uncertain result. That is literally the definition of gambling.
That's gambling, yeah.
That
totally.
there's no two ways about that, but it's not going to be classified as gambling here in the US because money. And
at least not yet. Not within the first next year or so.
EA's response to this was even better. It was classic. They lowered the price to 75% of what it was, which it's still overpriced.
Yeah.
And so many people were canceling their pre-orders of this game that they went and removed the cancel pre-order button from their website.
Oh boy. That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
Don't just don't.
Don't be like
it's
EA.
It's not the people, it's not the guys manning the phones, it's not the guys manning the website that are at fault for this. Obviously, it's much higher up the chain. So, if you are canceling your pre-order, don't be rude to them, but still EA, get it together.
Sure.
Don't do this. That's bull.
Like, you're already making a ton of money. You're EA. You do all the sports stuff. You have a ton of things releasing every year. Like, just chill out.
That's exactly right.
They're gonna pay the money.
There's all these arguments. I mean, if you look at since like 2010, 2014, microtransactions are the only way that a lot of these companies are trying to make money because it's reliable. Rather than put out 5 games and hope that one of them's a hit, you can put out one game and then microtransaction it to death, and they're doing exactly that. And the argument is that video games are much more expensive and they take a heck of a lot more time to make, and that's not entirely true. There's so much that is not true for, and yet the money they make keeps going up. So it's just that they're looking to make more and more money for their executives, for their people. It doesn't trickle down to the low level people in the company either. It's bull. It is bull.
Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely keep track on what EA's doing and all the microtransactions and all that stuff. So I think that's the big headlines. There's a lot of other stuff, but those are the main things. And if we missed anything that you wanted us to talk about, go ahead and tweet us at NerdyThingsPod, or message us on Facebook, or DM us on Instagram, or send us an email, nerdythingspod@gmail.com. So let's get into it because I'm excited.
Right? It is time for the main topic. This week,
the main topic.
We are talking about Stranger Things. We're going to start with Season 1, get into Season 2. We're going to have some speculation, some spoilers. So for anybody that hasn't watched Stranger Things at all, cut out now. Anybody that's seen Season 1, you can hang out. We're going to let you know when we're getting into Season 2.
Yeah, because we've mentioned it before. We've mentioned Stranger Things a whole lot leading up to it, but we've never really had a full-on discussion about it and about Season 1 and all that. So that's what we're going to do.
So I went through the listing of episodes from Season 1. I'm just going to give us a quick recap of all eight episodes, and then we'll pick them apart. We'll talk about what we liked, what we hated about it, and go from there. So just quickly, so episode 1, we meet the boys. They're playing D&D. One of them named Will goes missing, and a guy named Benny dies. That's pretty much episode 1. Episode 2.
Keep it going fast.
Mike hides 11 at his house. Joyce starts to go mad. Barb goes missing. Episode 3, Joyce starts communicating with Will through Christmas lights. 11 remembers killing 2 dudes. Number 4, not Will's body is found at the quarry. Will's voice is heard over a walkie-talkie, and a dude in a hazmat suit dies in the wall vagina. Episode 5, Hopper finds the wall vagina, wakes up in his trailer, and it's bugged. Nancy and Jonathan find the Upside Down through a different vagina in a tree. Episode 6, Lucas and Mike continue a feud. 11 steals some Eggos. 11 saves Mike from jumping into a quarry at knife point, breaks a bully's arm, and Joyce finds 11's mother. Episode 7, the gang builds a sensory deprivation tank for 11 at the high school. Joyce and Hopper go back to the lab and break in, and Nancy and Jonathan gear up to kill some monsters. And then in the last episode, episode 8, Hopper and Joyce go into the wall vagina, find Will, magic CPR him back to life. 11 of the boys fight bad men and the monster at the high school, kill the monster, and 11 kills herself? ? And then Hopper keeps putting cold Eggos in the woods, and Will sees the Upside Down again in his bathroom while he's shooting shit out of his mouth. Boom. Season
1. Cool.
And that's kind of how I watched it. Like, it was that quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When I watched season 1, like, that's what it felt like. I was like, I can't stop.
Yeah.
And I watched all 8 episodes or 9 episodes or whatever it was in 2 days. Yeah. Like, just, I would have done it in 1 day if my wife hadn't come home from work. I just would have finished. It was tremendous.
So, yeah, I want to hear about your thoughts, I think, on how you received it initially and where it put you at, because you guys grew up in the 80s, a little older than me, but I want to know if that instantly brought you in. Like, what did you get from this series? Did you hear anything about it before you watched it at all? I mean,
I heard some about it before I watched it, but I really didn't know enough about it. And so it took me, like, talking to someone at work and then being like, oh, yeah, no, it's this story about, and then, like, describing it to me before I realized it was something I'd be interested in. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like they did a lot of advertising for it, but I don't know that it really hit the high notes that I need for me to be interested.
No. Yeah, that's the same for me.
And then having watched it, like, it was the 80s. Like, I was a little younger than they are in this, but this was home to me. Like, this is where I'd want to live. Not necessarily with the monsters that murder you or the girls that can break your arm with their mind, but just in general. Like, this felt like home.
Sure. Tim?
Yeah, we talked about this in a previous episode where, Jules was saying, I think it took you a while to actually watch it. For me, it was in my sphere. Like, everybody that I knew within the first couple days of this being out was posting on Facebook or whatever about, oh, dude, just watch Stranger Things. So good. Like, it was everywhere for me. So I, like I said, I was home. I turned it on and it was like, oh my gosh. Like, right from, the opening sequence, they grab you. It's very attention grabbing. I love the format and the way that they do these episodes, because pre-credits, it's not a short little scene, it's a big scene that, like, really sets the tone for that episode. So they got you right there, and then as soon as the credits start rolling, I'm like, what, was this made in 1984?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is so authentic. Everything from the font to the motion graphics to the music, I was like, this easily could have been something that they just found in a film room somewhere from 1984 and said, oh, let's say we made it now because it'll come off as authentic. Like, that's how authentic it was. So I watched it. The story was engrossing. I couldn't put it down. It was instantly one of my favorite television shows ever, like, right off the bat. Part of that's the nostalgia, but part of that is the quality of the television show. It's a tremendous television show.
For sure, yeah. I didn't really know, like I said before, that this was a whole thing, and then I saw some people posting about it on Facebook or whatever, but it was just kind of a throwaway, oh my God, you have to watch so-and-so show, but I see that all the time, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But not until multiple people told me in person, like, yo, have you seen this Stranger Things? And I'm like, no, what's that about? And they're like, oh my God, you have to. And I was like, what? That's weird. Like, I haven't seen, personally, I didn't see advertising at all for this thing. I don't know why. I guess I just missed it, but it automatically just showed up on Netflix. And then after that, I saw a whole lot of stuff, but I was like, what's going on? And this was just so fantastic of a show. And I think I did binge it as well, where I just watched mostly all 8 episodes within 2 or 3 days probably. But everything in the background and everything going on in the foreground, it's just so, like, 80s, and you can definitely like stray, your eyes can definitely stray to something in the background, a poster, a book, or something like that, and it's all just there. They did so well with how consistent they kept all the scenes, and how I would imagine
even just
80s
the color palette and the saturation.
Oh yeah, sure.
It has this real 80s quality. It did a real good job of like capturing the 80s feel without having to be like grainy footage. Like, it's really good quality footage, but there's something about it that I can't quite put my finger on that is the 80s.
No, you're right, Kevin. It has a lot to do with the saturation.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like over vibrant and digital. It looks clean and crisp. It doesn't look like a film shot in the 80s, but it just has that level of aesthetic that it just transports you. There's no detail really, and maybe you can nitpick one or two little sayings or phrases that they've used that maybe wouldn't have existed back then, but by and large, there's just no detail to distract you and take you out of the era which you're in. I say this a lot about Ben Affleck movies when he's a director. I think one of the things that Ben Affleck does so well is he just really pays attention to the small details. He doesn't do anything big or grand, but if his movie takes place in, let's say, 1979, which is, I think, when Argo took place, you never feel like you're out of 1979. And this is exactly what they do with the Stranger Things. You never have any hint that you're being taken out of the era that it's in. All the details are perfect. The technology's just right. The cars are just right. I mean, even the landscaping and the houses. Like, I don't know where they found these neighborhoods that just somehow are in the 80s. Like, good on them, because it's fantastic.
And I love that they didn't do like a jump ahead at the end of any of the episodes, or at the end of the season, where it's like, now it's 2017, look, nah. Because a lot of shows that are set in the past like this, especially something supernatural or science fiction, that's exactly what they'd do. We'd have a season set in the 80s, and then at the end it'd be like 30 years later, the boys come back, and you know, we get some sort of tease that it's like, well, this is where she died, and then we're back season 2 back in the 80s or something like that. And I'm glad we didn't get that.
Mm-hmm. So
no, they're sticking with it.
Yeah,
they got a vision, they got a plan, and they want to stick with it.
And I definitely think that they're going to stick with it going on to the other season that's already, spoiler, in production. So, was there something that stuck out to you as far as the storyline? I mean, it is kind of epic and intense, and you kind of feel what these kids are feeling because you don't know what's going on, and you don't really know about stuff until like episode 6 or 5 or 6, whenever the Upside Down is there, and you finally feel and see what's going on. This is, oh my god, this is so much bigger than what I thought it was. You know what I mean? So was there a moment that you can remember that you really enjoyed from season 1, or just something in general that you really love about this season?
So for me, I love the framing of the D&D on this, where
I love that
the monster and the Upside Down, like all of this is put into context by D&D by the kids, and it had like that has nothing to do with what this monster actually is.
No,
but it's them sort of trying to make sense with what they know. You know, they have this frame of reference where they were fighting the Demogorgon, I believe, in the D&D, like the D&D game that they play in the opening of the first episode, completely lays out the storyline of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, you know, Demogorgon, Will, all of that. And so that is their framework. Like, that's how they make sense of it. And I kind of love that. I understand that in the scripts, it's never referred to as the Upside Down, because or at least not internally, but it is vocally, because it isn't the Upside Down, but that's how they frame it. And I think that's
it was
super
called
neat.
the Nether.
Yeah.
In the script. And that was intended to be their name, but the characters used words that they understood, so they described it as the Upside Down, and then that just caught on with fans, and so that now they're just going with it. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about how they've crafted this series and this story. The Duffer Brothers, they have a vision, they have an idea. They had an idea for season 1. They wanted to be able to go past season 1 if it was, you know, accepted. But they're kind of reworking stuff as they go. and they're open to listening to like what do fans like, not pandering to them, but saying what are some of the things they like, so what are some of the things we can highlight, but also what do the actors bring to it. I watched some of the behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of the story for them evolved because of the actors that they ended up casting. Like in season 1, Steve was really meant to be the bad guy. Yeah. Not the bad guy overall, because obviously that's the Demogorgon and the Upside Down and all that kind of stuff. But in the human world, he was meant to be the bad guy. But that the actor who played Steve was so charming and just nice that they thought that they would make him redeemable by the end, because then that could also carry on to a really enjoyable character for season 2, they thought. So a lot of the times the actors that they're involved kind of helps them craft their story. And in the same way, you know, when they start talking about the Upside Down and the whole world now knows it as the Upside Down, they're like, well, let's steer right into it. Let's just call it the Upside Down. They're very open to crafting this story and to moving from their vision to make it better when they see the opportunity to make it better.
Yeah, and you know what? That adaptability is, I think, what's going to keep them moving in the future. To react to fans, to react to what they didn't expect to catch on, amazing. You know?
Sure.
I mean, overall, I would say season 1 was almost perfect. I love that it's set up for season 2, but you don't have to do anything with it. You just know that Will is not all right.
Yeah. And there's something I really love was character development with the boys hanging out and finding out their different dynamics, the guys, and then Will with his amazing mother, Winona. I think I tweeted it, or I thought about tweeting it. I was like, can Winona Ryder be my mom? Because she cares so much about
Not
this
only
kid.
does she care, but she believes.
Yes.
Like, she is so strong. She is willing to put herself in harm's way. She's willing to look like a nut because she's nuts.
To do anything.
But she's awesome.
She is nuts.
She is nuts. She's
a
crazy.
freaking psycho.
But it works out.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give the character this. It is her, like, total belief in her son that really makes this whole world go round.
Yep.
You know, if his mom were a different person, the whole story wouldn't happen, and Will would be dead. I mean, let's look at that the way that it is. It's her total belief in her son that really makes the story move. But she comes off as it's annoying to me almost in the fact that she comes off as a complete psychopath.
Oh yeah,
like every movement and look from Winona Ryder's like, woman, you're crazy. Yeah. Like, if you didn't have because she has a previous relationship with the chief, Hopper, right? Yeah. Like, that's their backstory exactly right. with Hopper. If they didn't have that previous relationship, her son would be dead too, because any normal human being would look at her and go, woman, we need to get you a hospital. Yep. Your eyes, you have crazy eyes. Obviously, you're looking at me right now with freaking crazy eyes, and I don't believe anything you're saying. Get the hell out of here. Go to a hospital. Get yourself right. Get your meds fixed. You are a nut job.
And that goes to Winona Ryder as an actress, because at points I definitely do agree it was a little annoying, and I was like, wow, she's making me feel annoyed at this character, and that's really good on her. Like, really good job to fucking Winona Ryder, because she's amazing in both season 1 and season 2. Was, I guess, favorite characters for this season, and let's see if it changes whenever we talk about season 2. Was there a favorite person that you really enjoyed, or in general?
For season 1, I think I'd have to say my favorite would be maybe Nancy and Joyce. Okay. Like, because Nancy was also like, we're gonna fuck this monster up, and she got Jonathan and got the weapons out of the police precinct, and like she was really about messing this monster up. And Joyce, just with her belief in all of that too, same thing, where she was just like, I believe in Will, I believe he's still alive, and I'm gonna just wholeheartedly go into this. I thought it was awesome.
I don't know that I had a favorite character specifically. It's just, for me, it was the ensemble of the kids that I enjoyed so much, and not just because they were so talented and all that kind of thing, but again, it personified what the 80s were. If you look at the 80s movies and then how Kevin and I grew up, it was kids that went out there and bit off a little more than they can chew. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what makes this story. I mean, they didn't go and look up to try and find somebody who already had information on this. They didn't go try and get help from an adult. They're like, no, they'll never understand this. Only we can take care of this. And they tried to be as resourceful as possible. And like, that is the 80s. I mean, that is how I grew up. But if you look at all the classic 80s movies that were teenage type movies, that's the fundamental element of the story. Is some group of kids out there biting off way more than they can chew, but being like, that's okay because the adults could never handle this.
Was the
It's
Goonies.
just so, it's so 80s. Yeah, it's the Goonies. It's so 80s, and I just appreciated that they stuck to
Sure.
their guns on that aspect of it.
And while I'm thinking about it, because I really wanted to bring this up and I don't want to forget, is 'cause it happened in more of season 1 than in season 2, but the display, well, actually a lot in season 2, but you see a lot of their parents and you see a lot of the mother figures in these whenever they're showing the kids parents or just an adult acting as a parent figure, and we see a lot of absence of the father or male figure in people's lives. And I think that was a lot of the 80s. I don't want to make a blanket statement, but like, this is what you see from the 80s. The mom is definitely in a quote unquote mom role, and she knows where her kids are at. She knows, their friends, and the dad's just there at the dinner table because he worked all day and he's reading the paper and he doesn't care what you're talking about. And they did that really well. And that was something that I noticed, and I was like, wow, the dads kind of are shitty. But I'm like, well, maybe in that time and what they're trying to portray, that's kind of how it went down. And
but the moms weren't so great either.
No, they weren't great.
Like, outside of
they
Joyce,
knew.
like, she was like hyper aware of what was going on, but like, the other moms were just kind of like, okay, yeah, go do whatever you want. And
Try not to
you're
get
going over
dead.
you're going over so-and-so's house. I believe you. I won't check with their mom.
Sure.
So like, all of the parents were really, and again, this was kind of 80s, I mean, I think my mom would have, like, if I said I was going to go for a sleepover, she would have checked to make sure. But, by and large, it was like, yeah, go out, have fun, just come home by 8 o'clock and don't die. Like, that's kind of how it was. So I don't think that's bad parenting per se.
It was just with the time,
although
I think.
some of them
Nowadays
were a
it
little
is.
less aware than they should have been. But it's just let's go have fun, go live your life.
So
Figure it
that's
out.
something that definitely stuck out to me while I was watching more in season 1, and then season 2 you see a lot of the mother figures for the kids and stuff. But I think for my favorite character in season 1 is just Hopper. I really like his character, how they portrayed him in the beginning, and sort of his character progression, and you see a lot of stuff from his point of view, more than I thought you would. And now when we get into season 2, you see him actually change more than you did in season 1. But
I liked him a hell
Yeah,
of a
see,
lot
I
more in
love-
season 2.
I liked him in both seasons, and I think to Jules's previous point, Hopper is kind of the father figure in this whole thing. He is the guy. He is the guy who's looking out for everybody. So in a broad umbrella, he's everybody's dad.
Yeah.
And he's just looking out for all of them.
I mean, they did have that cool scene in episode 5 where he wakes up in his trailer and he had just been at the lab, and he wakes up and he's got a hangover and he's there's pills everywhere, and there's that like moment where you can say, okay, this was like some sort of drug fueled hallucination, just go about your life. And instead he just believes it. Then he's just like, I don't doubt myself. I know I didn't do this. I know this is right. Finds the bug and then just admits to Joyce that she's been right the whole time.
oh yeah.
right.
So yeah, I mean, definitely he's kind of a badass to me. He's just like super cool. And anything else you want to talk about season 1 that I just really enjoyed it. It's a really good season.
No, it was. If
movie.
you haven't watched it already and you're still listening to this for some reason, go see it now. Other than that, we're about to get into season 2. Back away if you haven't seen that. Other than that, stick around. We're going to do an episode by episode rather than just a full season recap like that. Do you guys have anything else you need to add before we get into it?
No, I don't think so.
Awesome. So
Let's go.
Season 2, episode 1, Mad Max, opens with us meeting 008, who I assume succeeds 007. And she is a badass like Elle, but we see that she is different because she's in a van, they're driving from the cops, and she uses Eleven's powers to, wreck a bridge and pull it down on the cops that are chasing after them. And then as they drive away, the cops look back at the bridge and it's fine. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same thing that 11 can do. And they kind of immediately let us know that. And then we see that it's been about a year. The boys are in school. They're, still with that teacher that they liked so much, or at least he's still in their lives because they can talk to him in AV Club. They introduce Maxine and her brother Billy, and we find out that Will has been for the last year going to see Dr. Owens, and Hopper has been hiding 11 in a cabin in the woods. And it was a good first episode. It was a nice solid, like, what the hell is going on with this chick? Where has 11 been for a year? What do you guys think about this episode?
So I definitely think that this was the end of last season. Like this episode felt more of like a tying of the knots than a beginning of a story for me. It was just more of like this is because like, I don't know, this first episode really didn't catch me unless, like, I thought about it in this way. If I just started this and somebody just told me the story of season 1, would this first episode grab me like season 1 did? And the answer was no. Like, there wasn't enough going on if you didn't know about the characters. And I was, just because I'm already invested in these characters, that's like, okay, cool. But I don't know. It just didn't grab me. Episode 2 is where I was like, okay, this is Stranger Things, and hell yeah, this is awesome. But episode 1, it did really good with storytelling and catching you up, but also tying the loose ends with the whole 11 thing. I'm glad they did it a year after, because if they just kind of continued on, it would have probably been boring. And I really liked the way they did 11's flashbacks, so it didn't seem too boring to just, tell the whole story of how that happened.
The year jump gives them time to build things up, which we'll get into a little bit later. But
sure, but yeah, the cool thing, 8 is weird. You don't really know what's going on with that, and it was like it was a solid episode with some new characters that you kind of get an inkling for, and it's like, okay, let's see what's going down.
You get the new human.
This is
bully.
where shows, right. I was just going to say, this is where shows evolve going into season 2, because season 1, like I said, right off the bat grabbed me. I could not stop watching. I would have watched the whole thing in one day. Whereas season 2, even like the first half I liked it, but it didn't engage me in the same way. It wasn't like, oh, I need to watch the next episode. But when you get into season 2, it's like you have the challenge of catching you up with what happened when, we were away, and also, setting up a new whole story arc. And you're like, well, we already set up a story arc, let's get to it, because we did that the first time. But this episode, I think, having finished it now, I actually appreciate the first episode more, because it really did a wonderful job of catching me up. Didn't go into flashbacks. They just gave us scenes that said, okay, this is what 11's been doing. She's learning, all this different stuff. This is a relationship with Hopper, blah, blah, blah. We know something's wrong with Will, so on and so forth. But even down to the details of, so in the first season, D&D set the tone for the whole series. Well, in this case, it's kind of the arcade that does.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're playing the, Dragon Quest? Yeah. Is the one game. Yeah. And so little details in the Dragon Quest, like you have, I can't remember the name of the characters. You've got the curly-haired kid.
Dustin,
and
Lucas.
The other kid's name, his real name is Malcolm. Lucas, yeah. So Lucas and Dustin obviously end up in this love triangle, and they're fighting over the, who's going to win the damsel in that Dragon Quest game. Right off the bat, it's foreshadowing into where their storyline's going to go. And then what's the game that they're trying to, get the high score on, and they find out that Mad Max beats them? Dig Dug. What does Dig Dug do?
Yeah.
He digs.
You dig tunnels. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the whole season.
Exactly right. This is what they
do. Like, This is like the writers in the show. Like, I'm so appreciative of how clever they are, and just how this isn't just a television show to write a television show. Like, they take this serious. Like, this is a piece of work, and that's why it's so popular, and that's why it's so good. Like, everybody out there, every executive, every producer that wants to make a TV show, take note. The most popular thing on the planet right now, TV-wise, is Stranger Things and Stranger Things 2. And it's not because it was promoted the best with commercials on your network before a football game. It's not because it's got the big-name actor. It's because these writers crafted a story and paid attention to the details and carried it through to fruition from episode 1 to episode 9 and all the way through season 2. And it starts right in episode 1. They had the plan. They lay it out there for you, and then they flesh it out as they go on. And you don't even appreciate that until you finish the season. You go back, you're like, what the heck? They played Dig Dug.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is the new
so,
thing.
I mean,
Westworld did
that's
the
what
same
made
thing.
the first episode so good.
Yeah, Westworld.
You know, the Westworld laid out the plan for the finale in like episode 4. So
For sure.
if you're paying attention to what's happening, that's the new thing. I think that a lot of companies are leaning into that conspiracy theory. Like, our fans are super fans, and they're gonna talk about this and pick it apart. Let's see if we can give them stuff to work with, and then trick them still.
And I kind of want to do like a blanket sort of idea about the year of 84, which is what year we are now in the show, and how much it's changed the interaction between people. Like you said, they have kids going to arcades. You see the election coming up. You see a bunch of stuff about that. You see the incorporation of video cameras now, and they really know, and they're really self-aware about what they're using. Music that just came out during that time. You know what I mean? They're really self-aware with what they're doing in the year, and how they can incorporate that into not just adding that, like, oh, hey, I got a video camera, but actually showing later on the character Bob using the video camera in like a, I just got this new technology or whatever.
Yeah.
And then with the arcade, like, oh, we need to find quarters and all this stuff. So it's really cool what they're doing. It's fantastic.
Right. So, I mean, episode 2, we do see the camera. So episode 2 is Trick or Treat Freak. And we get flashbacks of 11 escaping the Upside Down, hiding in the woods. We get pumpkins rotting all over Hawkins. Nancy is a mean drunk. The boys go trick-or-treating, and Will has an episode, and they have Bob's video camera there. And then Dustin finds a strange creature on his way home after trick-or-treating. And
yeah, for some of these episodes, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say other than like the actual.
We can go through. If you have something to say it. If not, we can move on. But
I really do like the authenticity of the high school party, which was really interesting. There was a ton of kids being kids and getting alcohol for the first time, and you see like one of the guys in a toga, I think he just is like super intense and drinking, and then later on you see him throwing up a whole lot and things like that.
Once again, Animal House was really big around this time. So
Animal
the toga
House
thing, you're seeing that reference there, another pop culture reference.
And I like
I'm pretty
how
sure Nancy and Steve were dressed as Risky Business or something like that.
I think so. I couldn't really
remember what it was.
But I do like how unapologetic Nancy was as a drunk, because they didn't really play it up as like as a movie sort of drunk. It was really a kid, real life sort of drunk, and I felt that.
Is that how I was, Jules?
Oh yeah, that's why I drew connections.
Was I like that?
Yeah, I drew connections
as a drunk
to you and Nancy. I was like, God damn it, Tim. And no, but her talking and having that conversation with Steve in the bathroom, and just kind of still not there, and you can tell she's not there still, and it's just like, oh, I've seen that before, and it wasn't super Hollywood, you know what I mean? It was super like kid having probably the first time she's drinking really, and it was just like
and she went overboard with it.
Oh yeah, too much.
It was good.
Oh, totally.
But yeah.
But then you see, this is kind of where bad guy Steve comes into play too. Again, obviously she hurt Steve, no question about that, but if you're really the guy who's in love with her, you're still probably going to take her home. You're probably going to put her to bed.
You still would have cared.
Take her home as in the sexual way.
No.
You would have cared for her. But no, he passes the buck to, it's Jonathan, right?
Yep.
And this is kind of, again, foreshadowing. We're seeing a transition here. John's the one who takes care of her. He takes her home. He puts her to bed. He makes sure she's all right. You know?
Well, let's go back to season 1. Were any of y'all really mad when she chose Steve at the end of season 1? I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I was so pissed off at the end of season 1, and I was like,
but
God damn it.
I kind of liked it because that's exactly what would happen in real life.
Oh,
too,
yeah,
'cause,
definitely.
You know, let's face it, Jonathan kind of looks like the Elephant Man.
Oh, God.
She deserves someone like Steve because she thinks she does, at least because she's
the
pretty.
world is superficial.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, sure. He has really nice hair.
So-
And Jonathan, he is a bad boy. He does cocaine, right? Wasn't it? That he
Yeah, well, the actor does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Okay. But yeah, anyways.
But yeah, Jules, I was mad too, but now again in retrospect, you know, that kind of had to happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That sets up, you know, what happens in season 2.
Yeah.
But
But
you know, Steve needed to be a part of this whole thing, so she needed to make the dumb choice. Going with Steve was probably the dumb choice. She should have stuck with Jonathan, but Steve needed to be a part of this story, and he needed to have a reason to be a part of this story and related to the other characters, you know.
so
You know, but those two
Now the other thing
episodes-
go ahead.
well, no, go if you have something more to add.
Well, the other thing we this is where we really start to see the power struggle between Steve and the new guy.
Yeah,
you know,
well, I mean, he's the Red Ranger.
Billy, Billy is the Red Ranger,
Red
yeah.
Ranger.
But he comes in and is just the 80s asshole. I mean, he's got the long hair.
That mullet.
He's impossibly good looking. He wears the shirt unbuttoned down to his navel.
When he's wearing a shirt.
The tight jeans.
Yeah.
But then, like, he just picks out Steve. Like,
Yep.
he does that move where it's like, I'm going to pick the biggest guy and I'm going to knock him on his ass. And he literally does that in basketball. But he plays basketball like no one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, I played basketball growing up, and he is slamming the ball into the court like a freaking lunatic and then knocking him over. But then we have the shower scene, which is the ultimate. Kevin and I talked about this yesterday. Is there a more power move than being in a shower with another dude and walking up to him and not touching him, but being as close a talker as
Yeah.
possible and not flinching and just being like, yeah, we're both naked.
No.
We're tipping it right now.
I'm pretty sure.
And what are you going to
yeah,
do about
that's
it?
what I'm saying. Like he that's super power move. Like he's like,
Oh,
look
dude.
at this. I can. I'm at your face right now.
Yeah.
Dick out, and
We're head to head. We're head to head in more ways than one, and I'm not even gonna
No.
apologize for it, bud. And I'm not gonna flinch. What are you gonna do about
turns
it?
off the water.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
walks off. Was that in episode 2? I don't know. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, that's
yeah, I
a
think
good that's a
so.
good scene.
Episodes
House.
1 and 2 were a lot of setup. It is episode 3 that we do start to get more of the story. Like, it really pushes it forward.
Let's
episode
go.
3 is the polywog. We see Hopper find 11 in the woods and bring her to the cabin. In a flashback, Bob encourages Will to face his fears in the worst advice a parent has ever given a child. Nancy makes Jonathan help her with a mission to tell Barb's parents the truth. Hopper brings Dr. Owens in on the pumpkin mystery. Dustin's mystery creature is shown to the boys, and they decide it's from the Upside Down. Will tells everyone what he's seeing. 11 sneaks out of the cabin and sees Will with Max, gets jealous, knocks Max off a skateboard, and Joyce sees Will's vision on the video camera from trick-or-treating. Dart, the little creature that Dustin found, escapes, and Will sees it, freaks the fuck out, and then confronts the monster with Bob's advice, and just gets wrecked.
So there's a ton to unpack in this
Sure.
episode. Let me just give you a little tidbit on Bob real quick, because you pointed that out and very astute. Yeah, worst advice ever. And I was watching a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff with the actors and the writers and stuff. And originally the Bob character wasn't supposed to be as integral a role as he was. His essential purpose in the original arc was to deliver that one bit of bad advice, because it gave Will the motivation and the power or the confidence or whatever to actually set the story in motion and stand up to the monster. But Sean Astin got the role. They didn't go out and
fantastic,
seek Sean Astin. He videotaped himself as an audition and sent it in with the other videotapes. They're just going through audition tapes, and they're like, dude, that's Sean Astin. Like, and is there a better person to cast in an 80s movie
No.
than a kid from Goonies?
Nope, not at all.
I mean, that's just poetic. But once they got him, and he's such a recognizable figure, and also just so, they said he's so charismatic and played into that Bob role so well that they wanted to really expand the scope of what Bob meant to the storyline. Sure. But initially, that one bit of advice in the car, that was really why Bob existed. Oh,
was such bad advice.
But that's their adaptation.
Such bad advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff. The whole thing that what's his name? I don't know the kid's name. Dustin found. I like the way that he went and got like references, try to actually do some research on it.
What an idiot. That was
cool.
Like, obviously this is a monster from the Upside Down.
You're could nobody else tell?
In a book from the 80s library that you're in.
Yeah.
Please knock it off. You're an idiot.
Oh, he's a little kid.
Dude, he wanted to discover a new species.
True.
This was like, for him, as big a deal as anything could be. He just wanted it because he wants something. Let's face it. The dude's not the best looking. He's not the smartest.
He did get his teeth
This
fixed.
was going to be his thing, man. Yeah.
So we see some character development with Max and the group. Bob, super cool. I really liked Bob. I like Bob. Past tense. But yeah, he's a good guy. I don't know. He's just super good. And later on, we'll talk more about him. But so far in the thing, I really like Bob, and he's just so happy. He's just so happy to be with the hot. Because he has some background with them growing up, right? He has some background with Joyce and Hopper. Because they went to school, they all went to school together, and they have like moments and stuff like that. And he's finally dating her, and it's super amazing for him. And it's like, it's pretty cool. And she seems super happy with him.
She
and
does.
He wants to start
but
life.
I mean, she's still like, this is the episode where she is just all in again with Will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
she sees there's static outlines on the video that match a drawing, and she's immediately like, boom, my son isn't crazy and neither am I.
Crazy eyes,
just leaning
Half
into
of that's
it.
true.
And she is crazy, but not in this instance.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, before this sort of moment where she's doing the stuff, it seems like it could have gone a really good way, and they look super happy, and we didn't see any crazy eyes from her. We saw a lot of character development, and then it just went right back to season one. Her intensity
manically
came
smoking,
back.
chain smoking, cigarette after cigarette.
And I was like, whoa, okay, this Bob character needs a little bit more. But that's about it. That's all I think for that episode.
I mean, the next episode kind of ramps that up a little bit. Will the Wise, when Will starts drawing the world's biggest puzzle. Hopper goes to investigate Will's drawings. Nancy and Jonathan are caught by lab agents. Then, in a very supervillain moment, Dr. Owens reveals his entire plan from day one, all the way into the future, while being recorded. Dart eats Dustin's cat and reveals that it is the Demogorgon with the way its face opens up. And 11 finds
Demodog.
Hopper's notes on her mom, and Hopper falls into tunnels under the pumpkin patch. Dig dug.
Hey, where's Paul Reiser been hiding?
He was actually on a spaceship in Aliens with... pretty sure that they shot him into space.
That's a sufficient answer. That's fine. That's really all I was looking for.
That.
So move on.
I mean, super intense.
I love how Hopper looks at the map that Will has drawn and just to himself is like, hey, I know where that is. And then takes off without telling anyone. Gets there, starts digging, finds a tunnel, and then goes into it. Like, what? How stupid are you? Mm-hmm. What an idiot.
Hopper's heroic.
Yeah.
In the dumbest way possible.
Yes, he is. He is the absolute worst person in the world with the biggest heart.
Yes. He's like, I will not put anyone in danger, but I will do whatever I can to protect them, including, peace out, I'm going to go find this place because I know where it is, and then I'm going to put myself in mortal danger. Yeah. There's no way in God's green earth I should get into a tunnel that there's a creature plant that I had to dig through to get to. There's no reason for that without going to get a lifeline first.
Or even just a can of gas and a match. Like, play around with this thing a little bit. Don't just dig through it and hop into it. I'm thinking he's inside some sort of creature's circulatory system or something. when we
Right.
first saw this, and I'm waiting for it to like wake up, and all of a sudden he's flying towards its heart or something.
Yeah. Okay, so for him, and if I was in that situation and I got to that point, I jumped in the tunnel and I immediately wanted to get out. How the hell was he going to get out? Like, that thing was, yeah, that's impossible to get out of. You drop down to something and you have no ladder. You have no way of getting back up to something that is 8-9 feet tall, a tunnel that's 8-9 feet tall, whatever. But, the cinematography so far has been fantastic. And I love that last shot of him falling into the pumpkin patch, it turning around, and you automatically know it's the upside down, and it's so cool. So they do a ton of stuff like that. That's so fantastic.
Oh, so good.
It's so beautiful, and it's just like so good. This one was just a lot of stuff. Dustin, just a lot more story going on.
I mean, Dustin hiding the fact that his cat was killed. Muse, poor Muse.
That was pretty funny though. With his mom.
I feel bad for his mom, where he's like, "Oh, so and so just called. Muse is out by the quarry," and she just takes off. He's like, "I'll stay here." What
Poor guy manipulating his loving
manipulative
mother.
asshole.
Oh God.
She works hard as a guard at the prison in Orange is the New Black, and she just wants to come home and relax, and he does this to her. What a jerk.
Wow.
But this is where this series is so authentic, though, because it's easy to look at this and go, what a dummy. Like in both cases, Hopper, what an idiot. And in a lot of TV shows, it would just be a plot device. Like, oh, these people made stupid mistakes, plot hole, nobody would ever do this. But there's actual character motivations behind this. Hopper's just got too big a heart. And Dustin just wants to have his thing, man. Like, he wants to be known for something. And he needs the creature. I can't forget what they call it. Dart. He needs Dart. Dart is the key to him getting the girl in his mind, which again is ill conceived, but it is in his mind. It's his key to just being an individual person that some people will look at and go, wow, look at that guy. So there is true, authentic character motivation behind their stupid moves. So I don't have to pick it apart as being stupid.
Oh God. I mean, we're really in the thick of things now. Things are moving. Episode 5, Dig Dug. You got Hopper passing out in the tunnels because what else is he going to do? We just established he can't get out. Will sees him in a vision. Bob gets recruited into this crazy scheme to figure out where the hell Hopper is. Nancy and Jonathan go and visit this weird conspiracy theorist that I guess I didn't connect to anything prior to this episode, but it was in it the whole time. They make the story more believable and then distribute it next episode. Lucas tells Max the truth about what happened to Will, but of course she doesn't believe him. Dustin recruits Steve to help him capture Dart because Steve's hair is majestic. 11 meets Terry Ives, her mother, which, by the way, that actress is paraplegic and just awesome. And they find out that there are others like 11. Joyce, Bob, Will, and Mike are able to rescue Hopper without the assistance of anyone else because Hopper is apparently the only competent police in town. And they do get the help from the lab, and they attack the tunnels, and it makes Will scream and pass out.
Yeah, so we see Bob being the, what did he say? Like the puzzle master or something like that. Yeah. And he figures it out.
Yeah.
And that's super cool.
Bob the Brain.
Bob the Brain.
Yeah, there you go. That. And he figures it out, figures out all the stuff. I didn't really get the conspiracy theorist thing, and that just kind of happened out of nowhere to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
like he was in the first couple of episodes, and I think Barb's parents hired him.
Yeah, he's the detective that Barb's parents hired. I just didn't make
that connection.
No, me neither.
I missed that
because he just looked a little different. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of odd to me. I know that Hopper said he was snooping around and floating these weird conspiracy theories about a Russian girl.
Yeah, he came into
we saw him in the police office, station, but I just didn't make the connection that he was the one that the parents had hired. I didn't make the connection to the whole. Like the whole thing was just a little nebulous to me.
Yes, I was connecting those dots, so that seemed fine to me. But I did read, saw an interview where he actually has a backstory. So he has been into this whole thing for a long time because he's a reporter. Like none of this is actually in the show, but this is his actual backstory. He's a reporter for the Sun Times or the Pittsburgh something, or I forget wherever they are in Pennsylvania. And he's been onto this. He didn't know how big it was, clearly, because they had to clue him in, but he knew that something was going on, and he's been reporting on this. But he was so delved into it that he actually kind of lost his family. Like his wife and his daughter left him because he got fired because they wouldn't support the investigation anymore. So what he's doing in this, like his motivation here is to redeem himself. Because if he can prove what he's been doing all along, then hopefully he won't look like a freaking nut job, and maybe his family will take him back. So that's an interesting backstory to give you an idea of why he lives in that hole by himself.
Yeah, that was like a bunker.
Weird. Because that's his life right now. His whole life is hanging in the balance of him finding out the truth of whatever it is he thinks he's investigating.
Yeah.
I just thought it was Paul Giamatti, and I got really sad when it wasn't.
No, and
I don't know why.
No, this guy's actually a pretty good character
No,
actor.
yeah,
though. He's been in a bunch of small sitcom roles and movie roles. I like this.
Yeah,
dude.
for sure. But like when I first saw him open the thing, I was like, "What is that? Is that no? Okay, never mind." But yeah, a lot of cool stuff and more amazing scenes. Let's keep it going.
How good is the kid who plays Will?
He is pretty good. Finn Wolfhard is a decent child actor. Like we're finding or at least I'm finding a.
No,
lot
Finn
more.
Wolfhard is Mike, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah, you're Mike. Will is pretty good too, but most of what Will does is just lay there, like, hey, in this scene.
Yeah, but when he's in pain,
you're in pain.
when he's screaming, like I was buying that, and then also when he's just the vacant look that he puts in his eyes when he's actually not himself, you can tell. And it's not just by the words. You can tell when he's Will, and you can tell when he's the monster. I was I was super impressed with his ability to convey the intricate emotions, and then also just to be burning to death without any visible signs.
I was going to say, we're finding, and I thought it was Finn when you were talking, but we're finding better child actors. I usually, up to this point, have hated child actors because they're just terrible. But you're right. Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, even Max, all of them are good. Amazing. Like they feel like normal people, and they don't feel like caricatures like normal kids feel like. It's weird. You get a normal kid, you put them on camera, they feel like they're not a normal kid. And it takes a lot of skill to act like a normal kid on camera, and these kids pull it
these
off.
are talented kids. Have you seen the talk show stuff they've been doing? Like, the guys went on James Corden and sang Motown.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Like they've been singing Motown their whole life. And I think it was the Emmys last year. It was the kid who plays Lucas, Dustin, and Millie Bobby Brown sang Uptown Funk and danced and. It was good. Like they're just a really talented group of kids. And if you watch Netflix did this whole behind the scenes, I forget what they called it.
Beyond Stranger Things
Beyond Stranger Things. And it's kind of like a Talking Dead. There's 7 episodes of it. And it's actually really good. But these kids, they missed certain things. So it's funny. They always put the younger kids on with the showrunners. And then when they get to the older young 20s, they kind of have them on by themselves. But they do understand the motivations of their character. Like they get it. They get where their emotions are coming from. They miss some of the little nuances, and it's kind of funny when the showrunner's like, yeah, and we planted this here. And they're like, oh, dude, I never realized that. So there's that kind of stuff. But by and large, they really do get their characters. And I think that's why they're all pretty authentic on screen.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about Will, there was one scene, I think we already passed it in an episode, where he was like super cold with Winona Ryder and she was trying to warm him a bath, but he wouldn't. And there's this one scene where they're looking at each other and you can definitely see the pain that he doesn't want this to happen anymore. And he definitely does not want this. He just wants it all to be over. And then Winona Ryder, the amazing mother that I want, she just like, it's gonna be okay and everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna make sure this ends. And I'm like, that scene was definitely a big one for me. But let's keep going.
Yeah, so episode 6, The Spy. Will is infected with the shadow monster virus. Nancy and Jonathan finally sleep together.
Yay.
The gang, plus Steve and Max, try to lure Dart to the junkyard, figure out Dart is just one of dozens, and Will leads the lab team of SWAT guys into a trap in the tunnels, because why not?
Sure. So how was the pullout? That was fantastic. That was great. But
That guy was so creepy,
God.
but so funny all at the same time.
I died.
Like,
It was great.
Yeah. No, that was. I mean, honestly, that's fine. He's weird. I like him a lot. I thought he was great. I thought his innuendos, were spot on and exactly what he should be saying.
So yeah, you were right, Tim, that they had to have her with Steve at the end of season 1 because this felt so much better. This felt so good to finally have them together, to finally realize the whole back and forth between the two rooms, and they kept going back and forth, whatever, and they finally just end up, and I'm like, oh my God, like I let out like a scream probably, I think. And I was just like, yes, finally.
It was that build up when they're talking and they're close, and then they shut the doors, and then one of them opens the doors, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, just go.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Jonathan isn't strong enough to kiss her, and then all of a sudden he did, and I'm like, oh, okay, great, fine.
It's like, yeah, I was like, hey, cool.
right. But not only that, too, though, Steve had to be in the picture, because if Steve had just left after the first season, where would Dustin have turned in this episode?
Yeah. No, I know.
Dustin was desperate.
Dustin was
like,
absolutely
nobody's around.
adrift.
He can't find anybody, so he's got one desperate attempt, and it's frickin' Steve.
Yep.
So if Steve wasn't in the picture, it would have been too far a callback for him to go and
Sure.
get Steve. But he does, and he grabs, I love how he just grabs the flowers. He's like, she's not home. Come on, come with
Yeah.
me. You got that bat, right? First of all, the bat.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the timing of it. Did they steal Lucille from Walking Dead, or did Walking Dead steal Lucille from Stranger
Well, this
Things?
is in the 80s, so this was well before the Walking Dead.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
So
Plot
I mean,
twist, it's the same
that's
bat.
That's
Yeah.
the thing is Lucille. This is her sister Jasmine, but Lucille has been in the comics for a lot longer than this. So
okay.
This is definitely a situation where Lucille existed first, but this is one of those things that, like, I mean, back in the 80s, my grandfather always used to threaten to hit me with a stick with a nail in it, so this is not unusual. This is
Sure.
exactly what I would
Yeah.
expect from this. So I feel like they didn't steal anything except my heart.
Oh,
Yeah, and they did, and this whole storyline between those two is fantastic because they put them together for comedic reasons.
Yep.
Because the kid who plays Dustin is a funny guy;
is
he's
hilarious.
lovable and funny, and Steve is very charming. And so the two of them together, you knew were going to be funny. But this is where, again, character development. Steve starts growing up and taking responsibility as a good guy. He's taking responsibility for Dustin to help him out, and also being a little mentor, because Dustin needs to grow up and he needs to learn a little thing about hair care and how to talk to girls, that kind of stuff. And they've got that great kind of train track scene, which is out of that other 80s movie.
Stand by Me.
Yeah.
Stand By Me, and beautifully shot. What a great looking shot. But it's just a nice little mentor, like, hey, little buddy, I'm going to tell you the most embarrassing thing I can about why I look so good. And
Farrah
don't you
Fawcett.
tell anybody,
Farrah
but
Fawcett.
use it to win.
pumps.
Okay, pal?
Yep.
Yeah, right? And it's a great little time between those two, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it is. And it is a good setup. Like I love that they bring him to the junkyard. They're sitting in the truck. It brings Lucas and everybody back together. Like it's this nice reunite moment for all of them, and they're gonna just attack and trap Dart, and then they can't.
Sure.
And I thought they were dead. I thought they were all gonna die. I really did.
I did too.
So I
There
definitely
was no out. There was absolutely no out from that.
you were talking about how they reunite finally and all that stuff. They kind of did that in season 1, and they always do that with groups of people whenever it's long form where something happens, there's turmoil inside the group. I mean, we talked about how there was a love triangle going on, and now the other two are gone, and we still haven't had a reunite. They haven't reunited all together yet, and they kind of
Will
did that.
and Mike are still away.
Together
it's just
at the
everybody
hospital.
else. But
So yeah, they do that a lot in other things, like not just Stranger Things, other things, the sequel. No, but they do that a lot in other things, and
spin off.
Yeah,
The
spin-off.
spin-off series, other things, yeah.
Hold on one second, guys.
Sure.
What? All right, go ahead.
And they do that a lot in season 1, and I just kind of hope that this is me talking about like the end game a little bit later. I just hope that they kind of switch it up a little bit in season 3 or going forward, because I'm kind of over that whole thing, because I've seen it done over and over again where they get mad at each other or something happens and then they break up for a few episodes and then they finally come back together and it's so yay, whatever. But I don't know. I just want something a little different, and I don't know what that different is. I couldn't tell you, but it is kind of wearing on me. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody else felt that.
It's the Duffer Brothers. I think they'll do something different.
Oh,
I'm sure
definitely.
we'll get groups, I'm sure, but I think it'll be less antagonistic between them. I think it'll be more cooperative. Hey, we have these objectives. We need to split up into 3 groups. You guys go that way. You guys go that way.
Because
and they work more together.
Yeah, because we already have a ton of different groups going on. Like we're talking about Nancy and Jonathan doing stuff together. Yeah. We have Hopper and Winona. We already have a ton of groups, and now we have this group splitting up into another group, and it's like, I want them to be together, all 4 of them.
Kind of have
everybody kind of paired off. Yeah. If you look at it, like everybody kind of paired off.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And it created these nice little one-on-one relationships where that's kind of how they developed the characters, because it was more intimate. It wasn't like they were in groups of 3 or 4 like The Walking Dead, and they spent whole episodes with one and whole episodes with the other, and you reunite them, and you're like, oh, I want to see everybody. Yeah. They paired them off, so they were able to incorporate everybody into the same show, but you got these little intimate scenes that helped further the story, further the characters.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of like the way that they did that, but I see your point. Like next time, if they were able to travel in a big pack like Lord of the Rings style for a little while, that might be pretty cool too.
Oh, no,
so I'd be down with that as well.
They did it really well. They did it the best way possible, where they did pair them off into 2s, and you did get those scenes. But looking forward, next time I'm like, okay, I kind of want, give me something else. Give me the group. But
Well, I think the next episode, The Lost Sister, is going to play heavily into season 3. That's the one where 11 tracks down Callie, her sister from another mister. Her and her gang are killing former Hawkins lab people. She has mind powers that can make people see things. She helps 11 figure out her powers. They go after one of the guys that was torturing 11's mom, and 11 refuses to kill him. Finds out that Dr. Brenner might still be alive, and then heads back to Hawkins because Mike is in trouble, and she sees this in her mind visions.
So the last episode, The Spy, how it ended was this cliffhanger of something coming out of the tunnels or whatever, and the dogs or whatever attacked the people down there, and it was a whole ploy, the spy, whatever, all that stuff, and that's how they left it off. And then they go into The Lost Sister, which was very controversial for a lot of people, and a lot of publications wrote how this one was.
Hate this one.
A lot of people hated it because they're like, this is just a filler episode to build tension, and why did we have this, whatever. But I really liked it. I really liked seeing something else.
I liked it. I liked the breath, and like I said, I think that's going to factor heavily into season 3 of this, and we'll get into a little bit after we talk about all the episodes why I think that.
All the character development that happened in this episode and Finding 8, and I definitely ultimately this is just to show that 11 is harnessing her powers more, and she has some help harnessing the powers, but we also see that 8, Callie, doesn't want to be alone either. She doesn't say it outright, but at the end she's just super sad because 11's gone, her sister's gone, and it was just like super interesting, and I really want them to explore that a little bit more.
We needed to get some of the backstory on 11, Jane, whatever we're calling her now.
Oh yeah, Jane, sorry.
Because there was just too many questions building. I mean, we spent the whole first season kind of wondering what was her backstory, and now we're at this point 2/3 of the way through the second season, and we still haven't gotten any answers. So we needed to see that backstory, and I don't know if there was a better way to do it than to just have her go off on her own and kind of figure it out, because it wasn't going to fit into the main storyline anywhere. No. So it was kind of cool to take a little 1-episode break, because we get to do that. And also it builds the tension for what's going on back home, so to speak. You want it that now, you're like itching for it. Like, what's happening? What's going on back there? But what did you guys think about the whole 11 backstory? Did you find it interesting? Did you buy into it? What do you think about how she is able to use her powers to see other people's locations, that whole water, world that she's able to go into. Like, how does that all strike you? What did you guys think about that?
I mean, we saw that stuff in season 1 and definitely harnessing it in season 2. And she's actually doing that with just the static on the TV. She doesn't have to be submerged in water anymore. She uses it with the radio. She just covers her eyes and she automatically goes to it. Later on, we see that she can do it in her dreams. I think in this episode, actually, we can see that she did it in her dream. And it's just really interesting and an interesting power. And with the known now that Callie's out there, that opens it up for infinite number of kids that could be out there with different kinds of powers, and that kind of is kind of weird.
And her mom has the power too.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's really just we still don't know where like it originally comes or what they're doing to the kid. There's so many questions that are still going on, but her as Jane, right? Her name's Jane now?
Jane.
Yeah.
Okay.
11.
Yeah. We'll go with Jane.
I'm going to, just call her 11 because I forgot.
Jane, 11.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's a super cool character. And I really like her as an actress. And she's doing super well. And I don't know. It's just still really weird because we don't know everything. But I'm along for the ride, I think.
No, but before they can answer those questions, we get into episode 8, the Mind Flayer.
Oh, yeah.
Dart and his buddies overwhelm the lab, killing everyone they can find because, they dug a tunnel down into these tunnels for some reason and just decided to let all these monsters in. Good plan, guys.
Right.
The gang decides to drug Will. Bob volunteers for a suicide mission. Spoiler alert, he dies.
No.
Will is sequestered in the shed out back and questioned, and then taps close the gate in Morse code, which he knows for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, you're a D&D player, of course.
I guess. I'm not sure that follows.
No, that doesn't.
I'm in.
He's exactly the kind of kid who would know Morse code.
Really
once
those
again,
kids,
this is not a thing that I questioned.
Nope.
Like, I was like, yeah, he knows Morse code. Of course. Why not? Yeah.
Just a bunch of stuff happened. So what you were saying earlier, Tim, when Bob was just supposed to be the person that gives the advice, do you think it would have turned out differently for Bob, or do you think this is like a set in stone sort of thing, or were we not supposed to care a whole lot for Bob?
No, I don't. I really don't think so. Like, I don't think that Bob, from the impression that I got, was that Bob probably wouldn't even have been in this scene or in this pack at all.
This probably would have been Hopper.
The whole. Yeah, even the whole like figuring out the map thing. Like, it was very convenient that it was Bob the Brain. That's how they built his character. But I don't think that was supposed to be him. I don't think a lot of this stuff was. I just don't think he was supposed to be in it. I mean, he was just supposed to be kind of off to the side. Bob's waiting at home because he didn't know what's going on.
You're not wrong. Even the map thing was Hopper, but then Hopper didn't tell anybody. So I think that they just sort of fleshed that out when it was Sean Astin.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of this was in the early writings of the script. I don't want to make it seem like they probably did this on the fly. But once they cast Sean Astin, that's how they moved this story along in that direction. But originally, I don't think that was their intention for Bob. So, but it was cool that he got involved, and when he does get in and to the hospital there or whatever it is, and he goes on the suicide mission, when they put him in that closet,
oh god,
and he comes out of the closet, and the broom drops. And he looks sideways, slow motion, over to where the Demodog is.
Yep.
I'm in my mind, I'm yelling, Sam! No, Sam! Like, it was such a Samwise Gamgee look,
really
and that whole slow motion
man.
like they used to do in Lord of the Rings a lot. Yeah. Yes, you could just see him looking sideways, and there's like one of those giant flying creatures coming in, and he's like, and look at that, and then he's like, Sam, no, Sam, and they come and pick him up and take him away. Like, it's just, I was screaming in my head as Frodo Baggins.
I definitely saw Mordor in the background.
Happens.
Yep, I definitely saw it.
Yeah, right.
So just this episode, definitely super cool that they, again, put it towards another D&D thing, the Mind Flayer, which I read some stuff like they created these characters and then they thought about D&D afterwards, and it does almost perfectly fit what they're trying to go, the shadow thing, but it's a mind flayer, this ultra bad. And I even read an article where they compared the ultra bads to something like, or the mind flayers, something to like Voldemort, or how they need to keep a story going, so they need something that's bigger than the Demogorgon, something that's bigger that can kind of, think for itself and kind of rule over. We don't know how many there are or whatever, but it's definitely good that they kind of amped it up, and that's the only way I think it would have season 2 would have gone down. And I'm really scared and curious to what's going on next. But cool, Mind Flayer. We got
the Duffer
Mind Flayer.
Brothers said specifically that the Mind Flayer was not the name, that it was called the Shadow Monster. That's what they called it. And they discovered the Mind Flayer the same way Dustin did. Like they just went through the old D&D books and said, "Oh, hey, look, this like parallels perfectly." So they used that as the name. And you're exactly right. This is again part of how they're developing the story. They compared the Demogorgon in the first one to Jaws. In that article. It could come up out of the water and grab someone, or come up out of the upside down and grab someone, and that's really scary and really visceral. And it was great for one season, but you can't keep doing more characters like that. So Voldemort was their inspiration. They wanted somebody with an overarching plan that was greater than our comprehension, and they said, what if it was a sentient being from the upside down that we don't even know how this thing thinks? Right. How does it think? How does it communicate?
How did it come to be?
And then they fleshed all that out. Exactly. So it's something that's totally foreign to us, that's maybe even on a superior level, but has clearly the ability to plan and think and look ahead. And that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see more about that, because I know that they're going to focus some on that in season 3. But we have episode 9, The Gate, where 11 arrives and fucks shit up. Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Steve, and Max are planning on luring the pack away from the lab so that everybody has a better chance at survival. And then Billy shows up and starts a fight with Steve because he has no idea what the hell is going on. Max winds up sedating him. 11 closes the portal, killing all of the monsters in Hawkins. Mike and 11 go to the winter dance, and then we find out that the Mind Flayer has been following them in the Upside Down. Like, that is just a super cool ending.
Yeah.
Dude, does 11 use her powers better than Vader?
Yes.
Yo, that when she choked out.
Right?
Oh, man, that was so good. I was like, yes. Force choke.
And it was so much more, like, vicious.
Oh, yeah.
And just even the way she opens and closes doors and stuff like that, I'm like, dude, she uses the Force better than Vader does. She's good. Like, she's really good.
Like, it's an extension of her, and you don't see that a lot in Star Wars.
Well,
it's
definitely.
An afterthought.
We see that now because she's had 300 plus days of her alone. So I mean, of course, that's what I would do if I was just alone in a cabin with the 80s TV, maybe 5 or 6 channels, like, and I have this power. Like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fucking try and levitate shit and move everything around. And it's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get good at this. So yeah, that's definitely super cool that it showed that she was really good at what she's doing. And I kind of made that jump to where, she had 300 days to play with this sort of move.
Right. She's gonna run out of blood soon, though, because every time she uses her power, that one nostril starts to bleed.
Yeah, it's just the one.
Nah, she's got unlimited blood supply. But she's such a badass character, and this is where that really starts to come to fruition. And she has 2 in this episode, or I think one was in the last episode maybe, but she has 2 really cool entrances into rooms, and we'll save the second one for last, once we kind of close off the story. But when she comes back from her solo episode and she's kind of dressed as the badass chick from the Breakfast Club or something, and she just like walks in with those rolled up denim jeans and the chucks, and she just looks like, I am going to kick ass. Are you guys ready for it? And it's just again, it's such a callback to the 80s. Like, that was so punk 80s, so outsiders, somebody who's just outside the mainstream, like just embodying who she is in fashion, and just a cool entrance. And then to see her and Mike, kind of connect again was really, really cool. But she has just at this point become such a tremendous character by this scene that I was getting to the end of this, And the one thing that I'm thinking is, now that I'm really into the show again, because it took me about half a season, at this point I'm so into it, how could whatever she does to this shadow monster, mind flayer, whatever it is, how can what she does to this being live up to the hype? She's got to close the gate. How can that not be boring? That's all I'm thinking about.
Yep.
Was it?
No.
No.
That was not boring at all.
No.
That was amazing. I mean, she didn't do anything to the Mind Flayer so much as just lock him out, but she was a badass when she was doing it. When she's just floating in midair, closing it, and just blood streaming out of her nose. I got tingly watching it, and I'm getting tingly talking about it.
She's levitating. Yep. I mean, it was as powerful. You felt like again, it calls back to the whole Voldemort Dumbledore fight in what is it, Half-Blood Prince, I think, or no, Order of the Phoenix, and Voldemort takes on what Dumbledore threw at him and just throws it back out there, and all of the glass in the Ministry of Magic shatters. To me, that's one of the most powerful. One of the most epic displays of power in cinematic history, in my mind. And this was right up there. Yep. And it's a television show.
So kind of to play the devil's advocate, because I definitely love this scene as well, and I loved all of the Stranger Things. A lot of people are saying that they're kind of dumbing it down to where it's like, oh, 11 is the guy's secret weapon. 11 is Hawkins' secret weapon. This is all they have, really. Once she's gone, there's nothing really more to them, and they're going to be done with. And people are kind of just saying like, oh, she shows up and does some badass shit again. Here, it's already been done in season 1. She shows up, does some cool stuff, nose bleeding, whatever. So what do you say to that? Are you still up for 11 doing badass shit like this, coming in and saving the day, sort of, as people say?
Well, except for the fact that they paved the way for it. Sure. She couldn't have done it without them. I don't think so. Like, maybe she could have fought off all those demodogs by herself, but they paved the way. They figured out a plan to go and, draw all those demodogs away and executed it against great personal risk. Also, against Steve's advice, the babysitter, the great and powerful babysitter, after he gets his ass beaten in by frickin' Billy, and then his little sister comes in and takes charge, and it's like, all right, listen, bitch, this is how things are going to be from now on, all right? You're not in control anymore. I will take this, and I will chop your you-know-what's off with it if you don't, make this pact to leave me alone from then forward. But then they take beaten up Steve, who then gets his stuff together and gets down in that tunnel, but they paved the way for her to be freed up to do that. There's no way that she would have had the time or the resources to fight them off, and for Hopper to fight them off while she's doing that thing, if they hadn't paved the way for them getting in there.
Yep. Definitely. Awesome. So, yeah, that's definitely not the end for what's going to happen. No. They leave it open. But, we didn't really do anything to the big bad.
Overall, great second season, though. Like, ramped up. It really increased the risk. It increased the badass level of the heroes. We got some great new characters. I'm happy. I'm very happy, and I think, that pretty much wraps it up. But I think we're gonna see more of the other kids, because I think that we're gonna find out that maybe Hopper's daughter was experimented on. Because there's the scene in the lab where Hopper meets Dr. Owens, and that's the same hallway we saw Hopper crying in after his daughter died.
That's true.
Billy and Max are from this town, and Max is about the right age. So I think we're going to find out that Max was experimented on or something. We're going to get more answers to this.
Sure. And I'm kind of happy they didn't throw in a whole lot of new characters. They threw in just enough for me to care about them.
Right.
Because if they probably threw in like 2 more and they tried to give me some more of them for me to care about, I probably wouldn't. So I'm glad they kept it really low and gave some really good scenes with the new characters, just enough for me to care and for me to love Bob and wish all the good upon him because he's just a good guy. But all the other good characters.
And they weren't afraid to kill one off, and that's important
Sure.
to a show like this too. You have to be willing to kill off a character that people get invested in, because otherwise you just feel like everybody's safe and it takes the tension
Sure.
away. So Bob's death serves a pretty big purpose in all
That's
of
kind
this
of
in
good
the end.
for Dungeons and Dragons too. You can't just let your people always have good times and get all the gold and stuff. You gotta show them there's real consequences. So that's cool. Good on that.
Yeah, but to Kevin's point, this season was a great build for the characters, and like I said, it didn't engage me as much in the first half. But by the time we were all said and done, it was way more emotional than the first one. Like, I was so emotionally invested in it. It was unbelievable.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, you with me?
I lost him. And
Yeah,
I
me
think he's
too.
Disconnected, then reconnected.
No, because
My headphones just died. Hold on a second.
Tim, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
That was weird. Oh man,
Yep.
it's creepy. That's why we shouldn't get wireless.
Right?
Hey guys, can you hear me? Hey, can you guys hear me? Kev. Damn it. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that,
No,
guys.
it's
I don't
all
know. I don't know why it disconnected my mic.
Don't know.
All right. Anyways, so
Don't know what you're saying.
I was saying something about. Oh, I was more emotionally invested in this one.
Yeah. No,
So
I
yeah, I
agree.
just thought I thought it was more powerful
Yeah, you were.
emotionally than the first one. Like, once you got into the season, once we were past the first half of it, once it got serious, the powerful emotional moments far out exceeded the first
Sure.
movie, in my opinion.
And you said movie. Very cool. It was like a very long movie.
It really was.
yeah,
Yeah, so I definitely do think, looking at the series as a whole, we did need that first one episode. For me, Mad Max wasn't as strong, but it definitely needed to be there to kind of bridge the gap between season 1, season 2, because it was going to get pretty intense and emotional and things like that. And it was definitely, as a whole, season 1 and 2. Let's think of how it looks if you were to watch from season 1 all the way through to the end. Like, that was a good, like, lull, quote unquote. That was a good portion where it's just came off the end of season 1, what's going to happen, and it starts to rebuild again, and that's super cool. And but yeah, just in the moment, episode 1 was just kind of probably not the strongest, but in the end it all kind of came together.
But it gets there. Yeah. What did you guys think about the payoff at the end? Just, I guess, the last kind of thing, the whole dance. That was like the big payoff at the end of this season. Did that do anything for you guys?
Yeah.
Because the creators said that was actually the building block for the season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the first idea, like they said, all right, this is where we're starting. We are going to end at the snowball. That was their entire building block for the season.
Which is very 80s as well. You know, ending at a dance or something like that. Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, there's a lot of really good payoffs in this season, and I don't know if it was so much fan service, but I don't think it was fan service at all. I think they did what they wanted to do, and they were going to do what they wanted to do to begin with.
I think that's the way they should do it. Like,
yeah, definitely.
That's strong leadership that pushes a company or property like this forward. And I love that. Like, have a vision, execute that vision. If people love it, keep doing it. If people don't, do something else. And they wanted to get to the snowball. They got to the snowball. It was a great payoff. I'm glad. I'm happy. Like, that was supposed to be the first time they saw each other this season. But there was that scene in the house previous episode. So, great. You know, like, I'm on board. I loved it. I thought it was a great season. And I can't wait for season 3, even though it's going to be like 18 months.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when Jane comes in on that dance scene, she just could have been Molly Ringwald in any movie in the 80s. Like, they did that so perfectly. And the kiss portion of it between both of those character duos wasn't originally supposed to happen, and it wasn't until the last minute, and all of those little 13-year-old characters were freaking out about it.
In a good way, because there was a lot of people that's like took that out of context and said that the adults made them do it and things like that. But,
no.
But there was a lot of speculation on that, but they're like, no, this is like just something that kids are. It was her first
tension
kiss
because it was the first kiss for a lot of them, but they're like, we get it. This is what the characters have been building to, especially with Mike and 11. Yeah. Like, we've known this. You knew that if this story progressed, as soon as they were old enough to be mature enough to, express those feelings, that was going to happen. Sure. Like, their connection is beyond, But the whole thing with the
Max and
what's
Lucas.
Her name? Max and Lucas, that was kind of cool too. But then Nancy comes to the rescue to kind of sit down with Dustin and say, dude, it's gonna be all right. You get to dance with the hot chick for tonight. And I guess one of the Duffer brothers, they had an older cousin, gave him that same exact talk at a very similar age. So that was kind of fulfilling to him. But that made the other Duffer brother very jealous because he's like, why didn't our cousin tell me that?
Wow.
Was there, what, did she not think that about me? Was I not going to be okay?
Right.
So that was kind of funny. But yeah, the whole scene I thought was just, a nice, fun, light, because the season ended, it was very heavy, so it was a nice lighthearted way to tie up some loose ends and kind of get us to the next step in their lives. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, very much so.
So let's get back into the favorite character thing, because I'm curious if it stayed the same, if you had the same favorite character or not for season 2. Steve, super cool.
Everybody's favorite character is Steve. Hopper's a nice close second, but it was Steve.
Sure. I definitely felt that.
I like Steve. I love Hopper. I like the Dustin character. I don't know, man. Like, I know he did a lot of stupid stuff, but I feel for that kid. Yeah. So I like him too. Dude, it's just a collection of great characters. It really is. It's hard to pick.
And there was a lot of talk as well on the internet, because I live on the internet, about how there was like some really good female characters. There wasn't a whole lot of really good female characters, but the good ones were good. But they sort of kept them separate for whatever reason, and you never really get to see them all like sort of interact, or you never get to see certain characters in general just interact. And going forward, I really just want them all to communicate for something. Like, please, just this could all, as a in a standpoint of me being in the situation, this could all be a way better situation for everybody if everybody just communicated better to each other and just give a phone call, post a note somewhere, something. I mean, no, I know it's the 80s. It was pretty difficult to communicate, I guess. But, a phone call could work. Answering the phone calls could work. Just communicating with all the different groups that was going on and everything that was happening. From a point, it could be a lot better. But that is very human that we don't think about that stuff.
Text them.
And
Call
that
their
is
cell
part
phone.
of...
Yeah.
Yes. But that is part of why it was set in the 80s.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
The Duffer Brothers even said that. They said this show wouldn't work in present day. There'd be too much exposure, too much communication. And they said, we just introduced the walkie-talkies as our perfect little plot device. So we're not going to even pretend like this wasn't a little lazy. We can take the walkie-talkies and do whatever we want with them. They can work when we want them to work. They can be out of range when we don't want them to be in
Whatever
range. And
that
they
is,
can be not available and in the hands of a little sister when we want to.
She was
They said
awesome.
they are literally under our control. We recognize that, but that's how this show works.
That's how it's going to work.
So the miscommunication and the inability to communicate is part of how they built it, unfortunately, Jules. I think that's just something you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, no, I'm totally cool, but just like...
I do think it's going to be interesting to see a dynamic between 11, Elle, Jane, and Max.
Sure. Max...
Put 'em all
What's going to
together.
happen with those two?
I want to see more of them and Nancy, or more Winona Ryder. I want to see other characters. I think going forward, let's say about season 3, what kind of we wish or what we're hoping for. I think for that, I just want a different more and the characters to mix up a little bit more, and that would be super cool to see what we did with Steve throwing them in there and all that stuff. Yes, they're in the right direction, and I just want more of that. That's what it is.
I think we're going to get a main character death in season 3. I think
so
they're going
too.
to ramp it up, and I think one of the kids is going to die.
I don't think it's going to be Will, though. Will is kind of the crux.
I was going to say, who's your prediction? Because I think it's going to be Will.
It's gonna be Dustin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that would be a big...
That's exactly.
See, fans love him.
I know.
Fans
I think
love
it's gonna
him.
Be Dustin. I don't think it can be anybody but
Fans
Dustin.
love Stephen Yoon.
That's so much guts,
Yeah.
though.
If it's not Dustin,
Will's the easiest
it's-
one to kill,
it's-
no
If
question.
it's not Dustin, it's Mike. It's not going to be Will.
They're gonna need him to care.
See, I think it's going to be Will, just because I think you ruin the whole dynamic. I don't know. I don't know if you'd ruin.
You ruin the whole dynamic.
Let me rephrase. I think you risk ruining the dynamic because Will has often not been part of the party per se.
But he's the reason.
So he's the easiest guy to remove from the equation and not change the dynamic.
But he's the reason for a lot of stuff. They don't want to. That whole doctor scene of, well, you're gonna kill the kid, and the doctor's fighting to not kill Will, and that's like the whole reason. So a lot of things are happening because they don't want to kill Will.
But they could pick someone else. You know, like that could just be someone else in the next story. It doesn't have to be Will.
But he doesn't have the.
But he's the one
true
who's
sight.
not been like the interactive part of the party, so to speak. So from a dynamic of the group standpoint, he cuts out.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think I don't think.
But I think that someone's going to die. I'm looking forward to seeing how Max and 11 get along, what their dynamic is going to be together, because the jealousy should be gone.
I hope it's just they're fine and that they just become badasses together. That's also part of why I think we're going to find out Max has powers. You know, she's going to be.
Do you think they're going to go to the Upside Down, like the whole group?
Yeah.
I think
that
so.
would be great.
That's what I'm hoping
if they
for.
just
I think
show.
that we're going to figure out. I think 8's going to show up. I think 8's going to be a problem for them. I think there are going to be others. I think that we're going to eventually team up with 8, and 8 is somehow going to be left in the Upside Down, or be the key to defeating the Upside Down.
Sure. Or her powers surpass the Mind Flayer somehow with her effects that she can do. But that would be so cool to see a poster just to announcing Stranger Things season 3, and it just has the whole gang in the Upside Down with like flashlights or something like that. Like, whoa, that would change the game. That'd be super cool. Anything else? Oh geez, this is the longest episode we've had. But Stranger Things is so good, and we had to talk about it.
This is a great show. I can't recommend it anymore, and I think I have nothing else to add.
Tim?
It's as good as anything going on TV right now.
It's probably
plain and
the
simple.
best
Probably
thing on
better.
Netflix right now.
Better than anything going on TV, and it rivals movies pretty much for how good and.
It is the premier property, and Kevin and I talked about this yesterday too. It is now the premier property on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that has always been House of Cards, because House of Cards originated the whole streaming thing, but with Kevin Spacey turning out to be the worst person, one of the worst people on the planet,
Not anymore.
that is removed. And I think at this point, right now, Stranger Things is the tentpole Netflix original content property.
Sure. So we talked a whole lot about Stranger Things season 1, season 2. Do you have any predictions for season 3? Do you have any thoughts? Anything we missed? Any of your favorite scenes that we didn't get to talk about? Whatever, go ahead and get at us. We are on social media at Nerdy Things Pod, Nerdy Things POD, or you can send us an email, nerdythingspod@gmail.com. We would love to read your thoughts on Stranger Things and keep the conversation going. We have a lot of conversation going on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and it's super cool. Let's just keep it going. Keep doing that stuff. You can visit our website, nerdythingspod.com, for the latest nerdy news, updated daily, and links to our merch for shirts and more. Remember, we do have new holiday merch, and we'll probably be releasing some new merch later on as well. So go ahead and get that. We have all our old designs as well, with the Stranger Things Nerdy Things shirt that I'm sure Tim is displaying right now on his body.
Jules, you know me so well.
So we have that one to go pick it up in line with what we were talking about today, and a ton of other merch, holiday merch, all that good stuff. Go check it out, nerdythingspod.com, and click merch. Or we also have a YouTube channel that you can go, because again, we're doing it in video. We're doing the podcast in video, not just audio, so you can watch us talk and do all that stuff. Watch podcast episodes, our Patreon for extra content like bloopers and early access to our stuff. Patreon, you get the episode a day early. So whenever Kevin's done, or whenever he just puts it all together, and it's usually, sometimes it's like unedited. So that's a little different than what you get. So Patreon, and there are patrons, you get it a day early, and you get some bloopers and stuff that we do before anybody else, and probably the only time you get to see it, and some exclusive rants and all that stuff. You can also text us and leave us a voicemail, 978-78-NERDY. That's 978-78-63739. And you can text us, call us, whatever. We'll play it on the show. Yeah, we're good. I'd like to thank Adipsia for the use of his song, Friends Don't Let Friends Go to TGI Fridays. You can hear more of his music at adipsia.bandcamp.com. He just released a new album called Imbue.
Imbue.
And I'd like to thank the Bell Curve for the music we use under the main topic.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.